I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Bowl Council of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, February 18, 2026 to order. Clerk, could we please have a roll call?
10 present, 2 absent.
10 present, 2 absent. Please note that Commissioner Fisher and Commissioner Healy are absent from tonight's meeting. Commissioner Walker, could you lead us in the prayer and the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll move on to any public comment on any item on tonight's agenda. If you'd like to speak on any item on the agenda tonight, please come forward, state your name, your address, and the item that you would like to speak about. And there'll be a red button, or a button right on the base. There you go, and it'll light up. It'll light up so it'll amplify for you.
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
It's lit up. There you go.
Okay. Chief Executive, Chair, and County Commissioners. I'm Cindy Sanderson, P.O. Box 231 in Butte. I've come to talk about the SABI Data Center and the global environment for these centers, the nationwide environment, and then also SABI itself. I am a former professor emerita of finance and economics and a former financial consultant and corporate financial officer. As such, I decided that I would spend a day researching a lot of this.
Could you pull that down just a little bit? Just pull it down.
Sure.
There you go. Thank you.
I decided that I would spend a day researching this and donate my time to the county. And I found a lot of amazing information. And I'll just give a brief summary of it now, but I have that information available on my computer if any of you are interested to look at some of that. I tried, first of all, to find the financial statements from SABI, and I could not. SABI is privately held. So I assume that Butte-Silver Bow has requested those. That seems to me it would be critical information to know what their debt load is, their asset structure, and so on. I was able to view a lot of other information out there on the internet, such as their ratings on their debt and that sort of thing. So I do have a lot of additional material. There are other ways to get information, such as going to Standard & Poor's or Moody's for ratings on risk for SABI, and I did find that since 2002, SABI has issued a lot of debt, like $175 million a year, sometimes twice a year, and they are a joint ownership with SDC Properties. I should say SDC Properties is a joint venture between SABI Corporation and National Real Estate Advisors. So you should have information from their joint ownership partner as well as SABI before you find as to how financially sound they are. Now, the business credit risk I found for them is not great. Their ratings are BBB and up to A-. The top ratings in national financial markets are AAA, down AA, single A, and so on. And this is clear down to A- and BBB. So that tells you the financial risk behind the debt that SABI is carrying. So that's a really important thing that should be analyzed. Also, their partner, National Real Estate Advisors, filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2011. and they are presently unfunded.
Ms. Anderson, if you can send this to us if you would
Okay.
like. I hate to cut off anybody, but we do have a lot of people, and we try to give everybody the same amount of time.
Okay, so there's a ton more information on this that I don't view as real positive on SABE, and I think also you should be looking at other competitors. That will tell you the value if you put out
Yeah.
a proposal for
Thank you.
other companies to
Thank you.
compete.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Perfect. My name is Arlen Norquist. I reside at 1415 Sage Street, Butte, Montana. We've been here before. I talked a couple weeks ago. Local 82 Carpenters Union. Not a polished speaker by any means, and I'll try to keep it really short. My thought is as I stand here, I'm 60 years old, and the truth of the matter is, whether you guys approve the data center or not, I'm going to find a way to be successful in the union trades for the next 5-6 years before I retire. I have the skill set, been in the trades a long time, pretty comfortable with seeking employment. If I have to go out of the area, that I'm in a position to do so, but a lot of these folks in this room aren't. I guess the reason I'm speaking today is I'm speaking of the apprenticeship programs that will grow through the course of this approval for the data center, if you're able to do that. If we put 50 or 100 people through the apprenticeship program, young, hardworking people in our community, that changes the lives of 50 or 100 young people plus their families. Those are people that are going to be buying homes in the future. They're going to be starting business. And they may very well be taking your seats as you guys pass along to the next generations. And, you know, Butte has a really, really strong history in the union trades, and I think that we need to continue that. You know, as I grow older, like many of you maybe on the council are, I start thinking a little bit about legacy, how I want to be remembered, what I want to leave behind. Maybe at this point or this juncture in my life, you know what? If I can get 1 or 2 people or 3 or 5 people into the trades and see an incredible change in their lives for them and their families, that's huge for me. So I know you're busy folks. I would just like to thank you for at least bringing it this far. What I do know tonight is that regardless of whatever decision you make, it's going to be a tough decision. There's going to be a lot of haters in this community. There's going to be some people that are ecstatic in this community. It's very difficult. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to trade places with you and have to make this decision. You know, I don't know. It's a hard one. But anyway, in closing, what I'd like y'all to do is thinking about the hardworking young people in our community who are working a lot of dead-end, go-nowhere jobs right now, who just like that one opportunity. And maybe as part of your legacy as well, maybe if you change 50 or 100 people's lives forever, that's huge. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on any item on the agenda tonight? Welcome.
Hello, my name is Dave Allman. I live at 117 Rampart Street. And anyway, I'll be up front. I think the SABE data center is a negative for Butte, and I'll tell you why. First of all, what is their footprint for their facility? 600 acres is 1 square mile. Why do they need a square mile? This question is also, if we're selling this property, why are we not putting it out for a bid, request for proposal or anything like that? Butte's going to lose on that. What I'm understanding is 2,000 an acre. That's peanuts. And then they also talk about, the other question I have about is the load, power load. From what I understand, Butte uses approximately 35 megawatts a day, give or take, on the demand. The cryptowatt, I guess, uses about 30 megawatts. Am I correct on that? And then, okay, SABE's talking about wanting 50 megawatts and then going up 200 megawatts. We get all these data centers here in Montana. They're talking about 3,000 megawatts. The state of Montana uses 750 megawatts. Where's this power coming from? Colstrip? 1 and 2's been shut down, and we don't allow nuclear in the state. Are we going to buy it off the grid in a cold area? Is the power going to be shut down at the data center to take care of our seniors that might be at 40 below zero weather, which can happen? And the bottom line is, I think you really need to review this Sabay proposal. The other question is, how come we aren't having people coming in like Google, Microsoft for data centers? They have big data centers, and they're very successful. This outfit is shady, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on any item on the agenda?
Freddie Frost, 2000 Roberts Avenue. This is an exciting meeting tonight. Wow. As you all know, I am in favor of the data centers, but I think that's overshadowing some of the other interesting things going on at this meeting tonight. Congratulations, Butch, for your appointment to the Public Library Board. Heck yeah. Communication 6, number 2026-86. Ostensibly looks really awesome. I love the words public art. Fantastic. I'd like to know more. 13, 2026-93. I'd like to just point out that that's 3 parcels. Are we going to have 3 separate communications for those? Just teasing. 14, 2026-94. Heck yeah, emergency generators. Definitely a good thing. We need that in Butte. And then 17, 2026-97. Awesome. Ready Frost is in favor of this. Heck yeah. And I think that concludes all of the exciting things I've found at this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Is there any other public comment on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the, oh, I'm sorry, come forward. Can you push the button right on the bottom down there? It'll light up. There you go, you got it.
Josh Cox, 114 Moon Lane, with the Sheet Metal Workers Union here in Butte, Montana. Just want to say I've been with this union for over a decade, and I've been in leadership for 7 years. And in Butte, we typically only get to put 1 to 2 apprentices to work a year. All the other surrounding areas in the state, we put 7 to 10 or more in a year due to the work they have. I would love to see the data center come to Butte. I think we could put 10 to 15 apprentices to work per year for 4 years, and there's a lot of those apprentices that could start on that job and finish, and they could turn out and become journeymen and also vest in pensions. That's huge. You know, you could have 40 to 50 of our workers as carpenters, along with all the other trades, and there's going to be a lot of people in this community that thank you down the road if you do approve this data center. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Yep. Oh, you just shut it off. There you go. Got it.
Steve Klipnis, 1930 Argyle Street. I am also with the Sheet Metal Workers, Local 103, based out of Butte here. I'm an instructor at the JATC, and I am talking in support of the SABE project, and would like to see this go through. Would love to get more apprentices from the Butte area coming to the school. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, David Lull, 2643 Ottawa Street. I'm here in support of the SABE data center. A large reason that I do support the data center is I've got a lot of friends that are out on the road, separate from their families. They can't afford to work here, and this project offers them that opportunity to work here in town, be close to their families. I also have apprentices that are struggling to afford to buy a home. And honestly, very few things break my heart more than somebody just getting started in their career and not being able to afford a home. I've been in the trades for 20 years now. I love the trades, and the SABE Data Center project is a big opportunity to put a lot of people to work that deserve a good income, a place to live and deserve to spend time with their families. And either way, I know you'll hear a lot of opposition, as you will those of us in favor. And like has been said, I don't envy any of you, and I do appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Name is Robert Bruning. I live at 1030 West Platinum Street. I'm a homeowner, a taxpayer, and a voter of Butte-Silver. I'm also a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 233 here in Butte. I'm also currently working for a local electrical contractor. And I wish to state that I fully support the construction of the data center in the Butte Industrial Park, and I will directly benefit from this construction along with my family, my brothers, and my sisters. I love Butte, and I love seeing the development, and I want my grandkids and my friends and my family to have all the opportunities that I've had, even though I'm getting close to retirement. But I think the Savvy Davis Data Center will help provide those opportunities for them and make Butte more attractive for other businesses and other companies to come in here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on any item on the agenda?
Hello, my name is Tad Seifert. I live at 2011 Thomas Avenue here in Butte. And I'm also in support of this, bringing this data center to Butte. I know you guys also have a very hard decision to make, and I'm also wanting to see a lot of conservation and, you know, not ruining our community here either. But the fact of the matter is we had to leave here in 2014 to go to Washington just to find livable wages. And we're back again, thank God. But we need to have bigger projects here. Butte needs something, guys. We need something, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
I'm Mike Husett, Centerville. Just a couple of quick questions tonight, and one of them is I'm curious as to what all the incentives are that we've given to Savvy, as far as what we'll give them in return for what they give us, and what promises are going to be given to them in the future. Probably the main concern, though, is I'm wondering all the people that are going to benefit for this project. I was just wondering about why we don't have more of a reimbursement for the property owners. We had such a big deal with all the property taxes going up and increasing, and a couple of weeks ago you talked about not one single dime of these excess TED funding, all these millions of dollars going to be going to improvements into the business district, and I didn't hear one thing word about the money coming back to the property owners as some kind of property tax relief. I think that would benefit somebody or everybody in Butte. That should be something that could be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on any item on the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, council, excuse me. My name is Jackie McBroom. I am not a resident of Butte, Montana, but my office is across the street at 156 West Granite. I do represent over 70 families in Butte. All the conversations that we've had in our meetings and with Savvy and with our members, I've not had any negative response once they found out the facts. I think the facts will be shown here tonight in the conversations that will be held here shortly. I would also like to say that this project will be union. Savvy is signed on with IBEW, the laborers. They're also signed in with the carpenters all across the United States. They receive funding, as one of the residents had said here earlier, through a group, but they also take money from the NEBF. That is the National Electrical Benefit Fund, which is billions and billions of dollars strong. They've been working with them for many years, well over a decade. I want to say 17. I'm probably mistaken about that, but it's close. But I'd like to say that they have had no problems monetarily wise with them, and they are willing to work with them in the future, no matter what. So I would greatly urge all of you to consider this construction project here, as we have doubled the size of our apprenticeship program in Local 233 and across the state. And we would like to put our Book One people that live here in Butte out to that job. I want my guys that are working out of town, who I'm speaking for here tonight, which you guys seen me here many times, right? But I never speak. But they have all pushed me to this point where I have to come to this podium because I work for them. They're the families that I work for. And they want this job here. They want their husbands and their daughters and their sons and their wives, which, you know, yeah, we have women in the trade. That's right. We push that. We push all people to go to work, especially here in Butte. And if you're working with the unions, they take people from the Book One status that are from Butte. Those people go to work first for anybody else. I thank you for your time. I really appreciate all your efforts you put into this. This is a lot of work for everybody across the board. And I feel genuinely grateful that I was able to see this experience. If you guys have any questions for me later, please feel free to reach out to me and talk to me about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on tonight's agenda?
Hello, Evan Petrov, 4034 Corto Road, trailer number 1. I'm a local 82 union carpenter here in Butte. And I'm talking on the data center tonight in support of. And I know there might be some people even on this board or that might not be in support of it, but when it comes down to it, it's going to go in Montana no matter what. And Butte really has no big projects. They haven't had any big projects in a long time for construction-wise. And this is going to bring a lot of people to Butte. So, I mean, it's going to be more than just the construction workers that are going to be getting financial benefits from this. But on the other hand, also, you know, it being a 10-year plus project, you know, that's something my son can join the apprenticeship, you know, and I can work alongside my son before this project is done. And I'm sure it goes for a lot of, probably hundreds of other carpenters in Montana. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on tonight's agenda?
Hello, my name is Emily Cox, 114 Moon Lane. I just want to say I am in support of the data center. I am a local property manager in town, and we do not have anybody moving to Butte. The people that are moving to Butte, they are the tech students, and guess what happens after 4 years? They leave. Let's have this project here. Let's have more people come and move here. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on any item on tonight's agenda? Okay. Seeing none, no, you've already spoke. Unless you're speaking on another item. Okay. All right. Thank you. So seeing no other public comment, we'll move to the approval of the minutes from the February 4th, 2026 meeting. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve the February 4th, 2026 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to items not addressed on tonight's agenda. We do have one. We have a suspension of the rules. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. In accordance with the provisions of Rule 7 of the Rules of Order of the Council of Commissioners of the City and County of Butte-Silver Bow, State of Montana, the council hereby finds that an emergency condition exists which requires that the council rules be suspended to allow for Communication 2026-98 and Resolution 2026-06 to be added to the agenda. The reason for the suspension is as follows. Communication 2026-98 is a communication from Mike Clegg, Deputy County Attorney, to hold a public hearing on February 18th, 2026, to receive funds in the amount of $10,000 from the State of Montana Office of Court Administrator, OCA, for the purpose of improving Butte-Silver Bow's Veterans Treatment Court and the Butte-Silver Bow DUI Court. This communication was not submitted by the deadline for the items to be placed on the February 2026 agenda, regular meeting agenda, and this has been advertised to the website and the newspapers, so it is time-sensitive issue. Based on the foregoing and to allow this matter to be acted upon, the council hereby finds that an emergency exists which requires a suspension of the council rules to add communication 2026-98 to section 1 and resolution number 2026-06 to the agenda for the February 18th meeting. So at this time, I make a motion to approve the suspension of the rules to add the communication 2026-98 and resolution 2026-06 to the regular meeting.
We have a motion and a second to add communication number 2026-98 and resolution number 2026-06 to tonight's agenda. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to the Chief Executive's report, I'll make it pretty brief tonight. First, I want to thank, we are going to have the ad hoc presentation tonight, and I appreciate everybody coming in, pros and cons about the data center, but please understand that no decisions are really going to be made. We just had an extension of 6 months on the purchase and sale of the land out there, so we're still going through the process. There's going to be more due diligence that goes along with it. We're glad that so many people are here for the presentation tonight to see the ad hoc as they went through the questions, and understand the ad hoc committee as they go through the presentation tonight. They were asked to answer questions of the community that they could answer, not to take a position, but to answer those fairly. And so that's what they did. And I want to commend the ad hoc committee for the work that they did, because it's a volunteer base with a lot of time that they do that. And so I appreciate the efforts that they did. I also just came back from the mid-year Montana Association of Counties mid-year conference. A lot of talk about where we're going to go in the next legislative session and what the priorities are going to be for the state of Montana. There was some legislative updates and things there. Taxation is going to be a big one, and how they're going to work to try to address property tax needs, and how businesses and industrial were affected, and residential has gone back and forth. And so there will be a lot of conversations and a lot of legislation about that. And I encourage our council here to be involved in paying attention to some of those initiatives as they move forward, because if there's priorities that we need to have for Butte-Silver Bow, we need to start putting those in. We belong to both the Montana Association of Counties and to the Montana League of Cities and Towns and their national organization. So if we need their support or we want to put in initiatives, we want to work with them as best we can there. So with that, I'm going to close out the Chief Executive's report, because we got a fairly significant agenda tonight. So we'll move on to Section 1, bid openings, public hearings and or presentations. We have 2 of those tonight with the addition of the public hearing. So County Attorney Enruth, do we have proof of publication for the bid opening and the public hearing?
Chief Executive Gallagher, yes, we have proof of publication.
Thank you, County Attorney Enruth. Our first one is communication number 2026-58, Lisa Carey, Butte-Silver Bow Emergency Management Director, requesting Council Commissioners permission to allow proposals for the fire station alerting system to be opened on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. Welcome, Ms. Carey. Lisa, could you pull the mic down to you and then push the button? Or you'll have to light it up. There you go.
It's like I'm new.
There
All
you go.
right. The first one here is submitted by Brian Bush, Vice President of Sales and Marketing. Not sure what company. Looks like BRYX is the name of the company. Looks like they have it broken down by stations, but they say here, with the options that they've included, that the total 5-year cost of ownership is $156,600.
$156,500, is that correct?
Yep, 156,600.
Okay.
Chief Executive Gallagher and Commissioners, and
Is there a
then
bid bond? Yeah.
there is a bid bond in the amount of $12,460, which is 10% of the cost of the 1-year ownership.
Thank you, County Attorney Unruth.
Okay, this is submitted by US Digital Designs. Do you get the address? It's 1150 West Grove Parkway, Suite 110, Tempe, Arizona.
Yes, we got to make sure they have their bid bond before we say their bid.
Okay, I'm not finding it yet.
Okay. Since we cannot find a bid bond, we can't accept their bid tonight. So I think we could send this back. Yeah, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I make a motion that we refer the bids to Lisa Carey in the Emergency Management Division.
We have a motion and a second to send these back to the Emergency Management Department. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to, whoops, we're missing, oh, there we go. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yeas, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay. Thank you, Ms. Carey. Next, we're going to move on to, we're going to put communication number 2026-98 on the agenda for concurrence. So we have communication number 2026-98 is communication from Mike Clegg, Deputy County Attorney, to hold the public hearing on February 18, 2026 to receive funds in the amount of $10,000 from the State of Montana Office of Court Administration for the purpose of improving BSB Veterans Treatment Court and the BSB DUI Court. So Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Just so the commission is aware, this motion is just simply to allow the public hearing to happen tonight. So I'll make a motion that we concur with communication 2026-98 and place on file and allow the public hearing to happen tonight.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file, place of communication, or to concur and place on file communication number 2026-98. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yeas, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. So we're going to move on to a public hearing here. So communication number 2026-98. Mike Clegg, same caption that we just had. This communication was not submitted on time, but we need to do the public hearing. So is Mr. Clegg here?
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome, Deputy County Attorney Clegg.
Thanks, Chief Executive, Commissioners. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing the suspension of the rules. This has been a learning experience for me. I just trying to do too many things at one time, and I need to slow down. So thank you for both teaching me a valid lesson and allowing me to continue with this public hearing today, since we've already done the publication. You've already accepted this grant from the Montana Supreme Court Administrator's Office. We have the MOU in place, and what this does is this amends the budget, allows us the expenditures and the revenue, so we have a vehicle to pass that grant through as we spend it, and then receive the money back from it. What this grant will do is will provide us services to justice-involved veterans and DUI-involved offenders in our programs. What we know from the research is when a substance abuse or substance-dependent person is working through their recovery, as their brain begins to heal, they're going to oftentimes be triggered by substance and their desire to use substances. And that will throw them in a flight or flight type response. This grant will teach them the tools that will allow them to overcome that fight or flight, and as opposed to using the substances through a series of meditations and breathing exercises, it'll allow them to move through that without moving towards substances. This is a program that's used by the VA with great success. This is the second time we've run it through our county, and the Supreme Court has asked us to run it again, trying to gain more data points so they can bring it statewide, and that's one of the reasons and one of the things we're doing with this money. That's why I am in support of amending the budget to allow us to do this. We expect the project, well, we have to be done with the project by the end of July, by the end of the fiscal year, so it can get billed out to the state by that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. Are there any questions of commissioners? Seeing none, We'll open the public hearing. First call for proponents. Second call for proponents.
Ready Frost, 2000 Roberts Avenue. I am a proponent of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Third call for proponents. First call for opponents. Second call for opponents. Third and final call for opponents. I'll close the public hearing. Next, we'll move on to presentations. We have a couple of them on here tonight. First one is item number 2, communication number 2026-67, Brian Sullivan, ad hoc chairman, requesting council of commissioners permission to schedule a presentation on February 18th for an update on the ad hoc data center impact committee. Welcome, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Oh, lucky me. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen of Butte-Silver, thank you as well. So tonight we're going to talk about the ad hoc committee that's to discuss the Saby data center.
Did they show you how to operate it?
Which one? Wait, which one? You didn't tell me. Which button you want me to hit? Matter? Oh,
There you go.
I think I've figured it out. Yeah, I think so. Thank you. Sorry. An outline of, and I believe everybody has a copy of the presentation. The outline, of course, is given there where we'll talk about the statement, the members, some definitions, and then we'll hit some of the bigger topics that are common discussion points that everybody's been wanting to know about. So we put together a mission statement for this ad hoc committee. And I don't necessarily need to read it to you. When Chief Executive Gallagher called me to ask if I'd be on the committee, in a nutshell, it's to find facts around this project. And I told the Chief Executive that I would be willing to be on the committee and take a neutral stance and just ask the questions and find out what the facts are, right? There's a lot of emotion, you can tell by the comments. And so our mission is really to go through the questions and figure out what's going on with this project. The committee members are, excuse me, are listed here. I'm not going to name them all. I think everybody knows the names. They can see the names. What's nice about this committee is it represents Butte-Silver, Northwestern Energy, Montana Tech, the TED board, and some members of the community. When I first showed up to be on the committee, you know, I was really honored when Chief Executive called me to be on this. I was really quite thankful. And then when I'm there, this committee asked that I chair it, and it's quite humbling. So it's a lot of fun. I've had a great time. I learned a ton, but this committee is just a great group of people, and I'm excited to work with them. What we do is go through some of the definitions. And what is data, right? Data is digital information that's created, and those things include texting, numbers, financial records, utilities, etc. Images, whether medical scans or photos, videos and audio, software applications. I could read them to you. I don't know if I really want me to read them. But every day, we all use data. Anybody over the age of 12 that has a cell phone is using data. Anybody that streams videos is using data. Anybody with an online banking account, a retirement account, you're using data. Your school records, emergency response, it's all part of data. A little bit repetitive of what I said, but everyday services include healthcare. You know, we all rely on our healthcare records, our phones and communications, emails, videos, the internet, the cloud. Our financial services are all part of data. Our credit card transactions. Entertainment. Entertainment's huge, right? It's going to be streaming. It's going to be sports. It's going to be gaming. And of course, all of our social media is data. Public safety is an interesting one because 9/11 dispatch systems are data related. Emergency response is data. Public records databases, when people are doing a rescue and they need to know who's there, if they have a license plate, they can find data of who owns the vehicle and they can get after it, right? And then of course, every time we travel and we book airlines, hotel, and a rental car all at one shot, when we get on web online, it's data. So what's a data center? Right? It's a secure facility. That's an important topic. We looked into that. It's secure for a number of reasons, obviously. They house servers to store, process, and transmit digital information. They're the backbone infrastructure of the digital world. And again, these are repetitive of what we talked about, but internet, cloud, financial services, healthcare, et cetera, they're all data that requires a data center. Okay, there it is. I was gonna say. And so we hear a lot about cloud computing, and we use these terms, and not everybody knows what they are. So we had a lot of questions. That's why we thought we'd take a little bit of time to go over some of these definitions. And what is the cloud? So cloud computing means data and applications that are stored on remote servers, right? There was a day when we all probably maybe stored them on a thumb drive, and then if you didn't have 2 thumb drives and your thumb drive got corrupt, you're out of all your data. So now a lot of us count on the cloud. And the cloud is a network of data centers, and there's examples. Once again, emails, online banking, photos. I get repetitive, but I think you guys are starting to catch on what data really is. Part of the presentation that we're going to do is, I'm not going to do it all. Todd Tragidja is on the TED board, and Todd's going to speak on a couple slides regarding the industrial park. After Todd, Mr. Keenan will speak on behalf of the water for Butte-Silver Bow. And then after Mr. Keenan speaks, Bob Morse, the Land Synergy Chair from Tech, will speak on power side. Then I'll come back in to summarize. So, Mr. Tragidja.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Tragidja.
Let me get out. I'll drive. I'll get it.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioners, thank you very much for the opportunity. As I think most all of you are aware, I've been engaged with the TIFID/TED board. I think this is either the 21st or 22nd year that I've served in that capacity, most as chair. So as Brian pointed out to me not too long ago, that the TED board really should be the Todd board. Just to put a plug in right there. Okay, so the couple slides that I've got to cover are, I'm not going to be telling you anything you don't already know, to be honest with you. I'm going to put my spin on it, but at the same token, you understand the project details. Obviously, we have a developer that's interested in the 3 parcels that are indicated on the map, totaling just a hair over 606 acres, okay? Obviously, their intention is to build, over time, a pretty significant size data center, up to 200 megawatts. So the parcels, there's been a lot of question about the parcels, and I guess my spin on the parcels after sitting on the board for a long time is everybody needs to understand, what you guys understand, the public needs to understand, that these 3 parcels they're looking to purchase them because that's what we had for sale. We didn't have a piece of one of these. It wasn't a slice of one of these. There were 3 separate legally defined parcels that we had for sale. And if we were to try and make that any different than what it is, there's a significant amount of time and a significant amount of money to be able to do a subdivision on any of these 3 parcels. Now, two of these parcels are completely 100%. The two big parcels are completely undeveloped. We haven't spent a penny on any infrastructure or anything. It's completely, totally undeveloped. And the reason it is undeveloped is if you have a full appreciation of the topography of that area, this is really challenging, hilly. Sheep Creek runs right through part of it. I mean, it would be a very challenging parcels to develop and to do a full subdivision on, which is, we've had these parcels. This isn't new. We've had these parcels for quite some time, and there is a reason why these have not been subdivided and why these are still in the state that they're in, because of the cost associated with developing these particular parcels, okay? We kind of knew all along that these parcels were going to be primarily attractive to somebody that wants to build something big and not to be able to subdivide them into something like we've done along Rick Jones Way. Okay, it just wasn't practical. And to be honest with you, we're just excited there's somebody that's interested in these parcels given that circumstance, okay? And I think you guys are aware of this too, but also, even if we were to want to subdivide these parcels, the two big ones, the Tiffin sunset a couple years ago, the TED was created essentially at the beginning of 2024. And there's, as you know, we cleared out all the money from the Tiffin at its sunset, and the only thing that we have available to us to spend in the Connections Park right now is any increment that we would have gotten from developments in the last 2 years, which is very minimal. There wouldn't be money available to subdivide these particular parcels, okay? I guess there's no Q&A in this piece, I guess, so unless there was somebody that wanted to follow up on that.
No, if there's anyone that has a question while you're presenting, the commissioners could ask that, but I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
You think I would have been here in the last 22 years, but this is the first time I've actually had a need to.
That's good.
Also, the next slide, Mr. Driver, all right, is on taxes, which I'll be honest with you, you guys know the mechanics behind the taxes better than I do. But as you know, state law in a targeted economic development district allows the taxes earned in the district on the property in the district to accrue to the benefit of the district. So you can see here in this particular slide all the mechanics, all the calculations that comes out. These numbers have been vetted. I know that you guys have the kind of eye that can vet this quickly. But the bottom line is we could be looking at $4.5 million a year in tax increment, which definitely could go a really long way to continuing the development of the Montana Connections Park, as there's plenty of additional opportunity. Since we created the new TED, there are new acres that are undeveloped. There's opportunities, I think, for us to develop even additional properties. So I think there's money that we could spend. Now, that being said, we still have yet in the new TED to develop an infrastructure plan. So we're going to have to be working on what that infrastructure plan is. But one thing to note that $4.5 million is a lot of money, and some of the concerns in the public is, you know, will Butte-Silver Bow see any of that? Well, for sure at the sunset, which is 15 years, so in 13 more years, the Butte-Silver Bow would see the increment accrue back to the general fund as it has with the TIFID upon its sunset. But in state law, it does provide an opportunity that we don't have to retain all of the tax increment in the district. A conscious decision can be made to remit funds back to the taxing jurisdictions, which would include obviously Butte-Silver Bow, the school district, the state. We can remit, I think is the proper term, taxes back to. And I'm not going to predict what our infrastructure plan would look like because things are expensive. We've spent $90 million out there right now, but we've got, probably what, $1.5 billion in investment out there, 800 jobs. So, I mean, we're getting a return on investment on it. But a lot of that infrastructure has been developed. Like, for example, we spent $25 million just to bring wastewater from Metro out into the district. It's there, so the extension of these services are not going to cost as much. So I do expect that we can probably find some compromise early on in this project where some of the taxes can be remitted back to the taxing jurisdictions to include Butte-Silver Bow, not exclusively Butte-Silver Bow. So anyway, I guess that's all I really have to say on the project. On behalf of the Montana Connections Park, obviously we've put forward our recommendations. So thank you very much for approving our recent extension. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tradigia. Sorry, Commissioner Callahan, I think before you go back, Todd, there might be a question for you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you. I guess my question is, the money you're going to bring in off of the TED now, because the TIF had sunsetted. So we have this section that the state still owns that we're able to lease because they won't sell it.
Correct.
Proper. Is that where this TED money will go to develop that? Because most of all our properties in the TED, or the TIFID, are already sold. So
No,
Commissioner Callahan and Mr. Tradigia.
Commissioner Callahan, you're understanding it right. And obviously the state portion is a sizable piece that has no infrastructure in it whatsoever. And that is a better property for development. And I think we could easily spend some of this tax increment money to subdivide that, build out the infrastructure, pull, and make them shovel-ready parcels, just like we had along Rick Jones Way and the Sugarloaf Loop. I mean, those went fast once we had shovel-ready properties, right? Another thing to keep in mind, too, is nothing went faster than our rail-served parcels. And there is some nice land that's actually part of, I don't even know what the name of it is now.
Solvay.
What's that?
Solvay?
Is it still? I thought it changed, but it's Solvay.
Still is, yeah.
So there's because we were able to subdivide on the east side of the rail spur, but the west side is all Solvay property. And I think with some money in the coffer, I think we would like to probably pursue some land acquisition along that rail spur. So that's another area that we could maybe acquire some additional, because keep in mind, all that Solvay property is in the TED. It's just that we don't own it. And so there's some opportunities there. There's some high grading, I think, that could take place to pick up some parcels on the edge of our development and make them into some really advantageous properties, which that's another point that needs to be made. That $4.5 million in taxes, that creates, this project creates whatever, up to, say, 200 jobs, but it's just like what we did with REC. We leveraged that tax increment from REC like crazy, and we built out the state's greatest industrial park.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tradigia. Okay, moving on.
Right on. Now I'll introduce Jim Keenan, who's the water treatment superintendent for Butte-Silver Bow. He's going to speak on the water systems that are available to the park.
Welcome, Mr. Keenan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioners. Good evening. Okay. For the record, my name is Jim Keenan. I'm the water plant superintendent for Butte-Silver Bow, and I'm going to give an abbreviated overview of the Silver Lake Water System, or a brief presentation on the Silver Lake Water System overview I gave to the ad hoc committee a couple of weeks ago now. So there we go. So that map is the Silver Lake Water System, and I'll give a little explanation of the whole Silver Lake Water System. But first, what is the Silver Lake Water System for anybody that may not know? The Silver Lake Water System is comprised of complex networks of reservoirs, streams, diversion structures, flumes, pipelines, and pump stations that are used to manage the surface water resources located within the Warm Springs Creek watershed in Deer Lodge County, Montana. The Silver Lake Water System is owned and operated by the City and County of Butte-Silver Bow and is managed for the purposes of providing water to a variety of industries within Deer Lodge and Silver Bow counties, as well as providing in-stream fisheries flows. So the Silver Lake Water System is where the water for the industrial water for the Saby Data Center would come from for their cooling. So I'll just start up in the northwest corner of the map and move to the southeast and kind of give a flyover of the whole water system. So up there in the northwest corner of the map is Georgetown Lake and Silver Lake. So you can see the yellow square with the letter P in it. That's a pump station on Georgetown Lake. And we have a canal between Silver Lake and Georgetown Lake. So in the spring, when we fill up Silver Lake from those two creeks coming in from the south, that's Storm Lake Creek and Twin Lakes Creek. We have diversions on those creeks where we can divert the flow into Silver Lake to fill it up. Once we fill it up, we have a water right. We're allowed to store 1,920 acre feet via that canal into Georgetown Lake, and then we can pump that water back up into Silver Lake between October and March. And then moving to the east from Silver Lake, there's a pump station on Silver Lake, and there's also a gravity outlet on Silver Lake. So when Silver Lake's full, we can release by gravity the top 6 feet of water, or about 1,800 acre feet. Anything below that, we have to pump from Silver Lake to the east into Warm Springs Creek. So water then moves from Silver Lake through the Silver Lake Aqueduct to the east into Warm Springs Creek, and then that big pink arrow I have on my map is the point of entry to the pipeline at Myers Diversion or Myers Dam. They get used interchangeably a little bit west of Anaconda. So at that point, we divert water off of Warm Springs Creek. We have 2 types of water we can divert off the water, off of the creek at Myers Diversion. We have our direct flow rights from Warm Springs Creek. And if we don't have enough water in priority from our direct flow rights, we can augment the flow in Warm Springs Creek from our storage reservoirs like Silver Lake. So the water enters the pipeline at Myers Diversion. There's about 3 or so miles of 60-inch pipeline that was installed in 1963, and then 3 or so miles of 54-inch pipeline that was installed in the late 90s, 1997, I believe. And that goes until Smelter Hill, where I have that pink circle around Smelter Hill. That used to be the end of the Silver Lake Water System. The Silver Lake Water System was originally constructed in the late 1890s, early 1900s for the Washoe smelter at Smelter Hill. So it wasn't, that was the end of it until the 60s, when that line was extended from Smelter Hill to the southeast all the way to the concentrator in Butte for the Berkeley pit. That was a 34-inch pipeline, 23 miles long. It was built in 1967, I believe, somewhere right in that era. And then later in the 90s, in 1996, when ASME was built, they tapped into that 34-inch line just west of I-15 near Ramsey and ran, I think, about 19,000 feet of 30-inch pipeline for ASME, but they built that pipeline with extra capacity for future industrial users. So this map shows both the potable water system and the industrial water system, and the goal here is to make the distinction between the two. So everything on the east side of the map in blue, whether it's dark blue or light blue is associated with our potable water or drinking water system for the city. All of those dark blue lines are transmission lines coming from the raw water supplies to the treatment plants, and all the light blue lines are treated water leading from the treatment plants into the distribution system in the city of Butte, where all the blue is concentrated. So north of Butte, we've got the Molten Water Treatment Plant that treats water from Molten Reservoir. South of Butte, we've got the Basin Creek Water Treatment Plant that treats water from Basin Creek Reservoir. And then southwest of Butte, we've got the Big Hole River water treatment plant that treats water from the Big Hole River as well as water from South Fork Reservoir on Fleecer Mountain. So that's all potable water, that's all the water rights are all municipal water rights. Everything in pink is all our industrial water supply, the Silver Lake water system. So that pink arrow is the same one that was on my previous slide. That's the point of entry to that pipeline that starts there and goes 30 miles to the east all the way into Butte. And then that inset that you can see west of I-15 on my map that's magnified, that is the Montana Connections Business Park, AKA the TED, AKA the TIFID, AKA apparently now the Todd. So in that area, we have both potable water and industrial water. You can see the pink line goes right up to what is now REC, right at the doorstep of the proposed data center, and the potable water looks like it stops just a little bit short. But the point of this slide is just to convey the message that the Silver Lake water system is a separate, standalone system that's financially supported by payments received from the customers of the system, and it does not receive any subsidy from the ratepayers of the potable water system or the taxpayers of Butte-Silver Bow. And this is my last slide. I just wanted to show the total consumption from all of our industrial users over the past, I guess, almost 20 years, going back to 2007 there. So this chart reflects the total of Montana Resources, Dave Gates Generating Station, REC, and all the other businesses out in the Montana Connections Business Park. And that total also reflects the water used to irrigate Copper Mountain Sports Complex. So the reason for the variation from year to year is mostly due to Montana Resources. The other users are more steady, but Montana Resources consumption has changed a lot over the years, especially in that 2012 through 2016 when their consumption was higher, especially there in 2013, 2014, and 2015 when their consumption, our average daily use to our users on the Silver Lake water system got as high as almost 8.5 million gallons per day. But the point I wanted to make with this slide is even during those higher consumption years, we were able to meet the needs of all of our industrial users from our direct flow rights off of Warm Springs Creek without the need to augment that flow from our storage in Silver Lake. It's called the Silver Lake water system. I think most people believe the water for our industrial users is coming out of Silver Lake and to our users, but it's almost all just coming off of Warm Springs Creek. We've made releases from our storage throughout the years, but those haven't been for our industrial users. Those have been through contracts with the state of Montana, through the NRDP for the benefit of trout habitat in Warm Springs Creek and not for our industrial users. And the last little point that I wanted to make is all of those totals do include the Copper Mountain Sports Complex. I recently grabbed the last 5 years of meter data for Copper Mountain, and that's averaged about 16.7 million gallons per year over the last 5 years. And going forward, Copper Mountain is going to be irrigated as part of the Metro Sewer Effluent Reuse Project, so it'll no longer be Silver Lake water that's irrigating that park. And from what I understand, and Bob Morris is going to be talking about it more, I think that's kind of about what we can expect for consumption from the Sabi data center. So it's going to be no net change to our use off the Silver Lake water system if all of that's accurate. So with that, I don't know if you want to ask questions now, if there are any, or if you want to wait till after.
Commissioner Callahan.
We got to catch you before you run. Thank you, Chief Executive. I guess I just got one small question. The line you said that branches off up to ASME. Obviously, ASME was the first one out at the TIFID, and there was no TIFID money at the time. Did ASME pay for that whole line, or how did that line get put in?
Commissioner Callahan, Mr. Keenan.
Mr. Chief Executive, Mr. Callahan, that's a good question. Mr. Tregidga might know the answer to that. I do know that there was about $10 or $12 million invested in the system at that time. Some of it, I believe, came from ARCO, and some of it came from, I don't know if it was part of the hookup fees for ASME, or does anybody know that history?
I think we'll let, welcome Director Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, members of council, Commissioner Callahan. A bond was issued, a tax increment bond was issued during the time that ASME was being considered and constructed, and we bonded for over $42 million for public infrastructure based on their tax increment that they would pay into the district. So it was all done through bonding. That included the road and the Silver Lake line and the gas lines and some other upgrades.
Thank you, Director Burns.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll keep on moving along. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Keenan. So next up, I'll introduce Bob Morris as the Lance Energy Chair at Montana Tech. And Bob's going to be speaking more on some of the cooling systems and water use, and then get into the power side of the presentation.
Welcome, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan, Chief Executive Gallagher, and members of the council. What I want to do is expand on what Jim talked about on the water system, and what my objective was to figure out how much water do we have and how much does the data center use. And so what I did is I used a number of sources to do that. I spoke extensively to SABE about their proposed design, and also consulted with some professional HVAC design engineers. And the reason I did that was I wanted to understand for myself what the system's all about, and so that I could explain it to you folks. So this is the last slide that Jim shared. And we've got about 2.5 million gallons a day average last year. And so to reiterate what Jim said, I've redrawn a simplified diagram here showing the industrial system that Jim explained in the pink or magenta, the Warm Springs Creek system, and then the potable system. And so key point number one is they're separate. Number two is we've averaged about 2.5 million gallons a day the last year on the industrial system, and the potable system about 6.3 million gallons a day. And I'll expand on that in a little bit. And then you can see the major loads right now on the industrial system: the Dave Gates Generating Station, and then the Montana Connections Park and Montana Resources, and then the dashed line I put in there is the proposed data center. And on a daily average, it's about 0.04 million gallons a day, or 45,000, okay? But as you'll see, there's really no such thing as a typical day. It's very seasonal use, and I'll get into that. So let's first let's compare the potable system to the industrial system, so we can at least get a visceral feel for what some of these numbers mean. So the average daily use right now for the potable system, just over 6 million gallons a day. An average home uses about 300 gallons a day. If you took your fire hose, your garden hose, and turned it on and let it run all day, that's about 14,500 gallons of water. It's a lot, okay? A 100-room hotel with one restaurant, about 44,000 gallons a day, okay? Now the industrial power water system, maximum daily capacity, if we had infinite water out there, 25 million gallons a day. And we're averaging 2.5, as you saw. The Copper Mountain Sports Complex that Jim mentioned is 17 million gallons a day. And the reason I picked that out is that's the expected 17 million gallons a year. That's the expected annual use of the data center. So they're about the same, okay? And the average daily use is about 44,000 gallons a day, but really there's not going to be an average day, and I'll get into that in a minute here. So let's first take a look at how a data center cooling system works. And this is the type that SABE is considering for this data center. And it's I called it evaporative cooling tower. It's actually an adiabatic cooling tower. What does that mean? Well, it's a dry air cooling system unless outside air temperature is above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So when it's below 80 degrees Fahrenheit, it runs with no external water. There's two closed loops. On the far right of your diagram, that's the data center, and there's a closed loop in there. The blue part of it's the colder water, the red's the hot water, or probably a coolant system of a glycol solution. And that circulates through a heat exchanger, which then couples to the external closed loop system. That's going to be facility water, probably filled with industrial water from the Silver Lake system. And that's also a closed loop. It just cycles out to the cooling tower, and it cools off, and then it closes back in. And for For the vast majority of the time, that's all they have to do. Now, however, when outside air temperature gets above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, you turn on the industrial water supply, misters, as they're called, and that provides, if they hit the coils in the cooling tower, and that evaporates off, and that moves the heat off of those coils during the summer, okay? So the point is that it's evaporative only when it's above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And I recall a month or two ago, Commissioner O'Leary said, well, what does that profile look like? So I went out to the internet and pulled data on Butte's average temperature over the last handful of years. And so on the x-axis on the bottom, that's each month of the year, and then the y-axis are the hours of the day. And the red bullseye in the middle, that's the time of the year the air temperature is above 75, so pretty close to 80, okay? And what it tells me is that for about a month or two in the summer, from mid-July to mid-August, and for about 2 to 4 hours a day, it's going to be above 80 degrees. That's when the water is going to be used. That's when the 16 million gallons is going to be consumed, okay? So if you drew a profile of what the water consumption might look like, it might look something like this. No industrial water use until July, and then it's going to use, the way I did my math, and I get around 250 to 300,000 gallons a day. It could be more. Okay, it's going to depend upon the design of their system, and we'll get the numbers, you know, as the SABE completes their design. But the point here is that a couple points that I want to make is that it's well within the capacity of that industrial water system. So I put this chart together. I already mentioned everything on this table except for two things on the bottom I want to call your attention to. The second to the last row, the discharge. There will be no discharge from the cooling system out to the environment or into Metro Sewer. So either the water evaporates, and if there is condensation in that cooling tower, it's captured in drain pans and cycled back in. So there's no discharge there. And then annually or semi-annually, they do a blowdown or a clean out of those systems, and they'll use a mild detergent. But during that activity, they capture all of it and take it off site for treatment. So there is no discharge. They'll be run off from, you know, rainwater on the parking lots and things like that, but no industrial discharge from the facility. So I want to leave you with, before I go on to power, I want to leave you with 4 points on the water supply. So the annual water demand is well within the capacity of the industrial water system. And the total water use is approximately 16 million gallons. My pencil's not too sharp, and you're going to get better numbers from SABE, but it's going to get you in the ballpark. Okay, and peak demand will occur during the summer for a month or two. Okay, and then Butte-Silver Bow can structure a water use agreement with SABE to ensure consumption remains within agreed upon parameters. So that's something that, yeah, you want to put it on your to-do list, and I'm sure SABE will probably have it on their to-do list. We better get agreement on this because it's a really important item, but here's what you can expect. That's the whole point of my research. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, there will be no discharge from the industrial cooling system. So with that, I'm going to move on into the electric power. I'll be happy to answer questions a little bit later on the water, but in the interest of time, I'll keep going. And so on electric power, I did a couple things as part of my investigation. One is I looked at national trends, and then I looked at specific statewide trends, and then I drilled down to the actual site, because I had a lot of questions, a lot of power use, okay? So first of all, there's a lot of concern that across the country that, hey, data centers are going to raise my electric rates, okay? But the opposite is true, okay? So the first example I'm going to share with you here is a study completed last December by Environmental and Energy and Environmental Economics. They studied 9 Amazon data centers across the country, and what they found out was that the presence of those data centers actually lowered rates. And why was that? It's because the data center negotiated a deal with the utility and the Public Service Commission that gave the utility a little bit higher than average profit. So most utilities are regulated. Their profit's limited, 7%, something like that. So let's say the data center negotiates, I'll give you 8% profit. So what happens then? Well, the next time the utility goes in front of the Public Service Commission, they're capped at 7%, but now they come in at 7.5%. So now what do? They lower their other rates. So it's pretty simple math to do that. So that's why in the Amazon example, that put downward pressure on rates, okay? Because the data centers and the utility commissions and the utilities work together to make sure that it's got a positive impact on the other ratepayers. Another dynamic here is that a study that was done by Lawrence Livermore Labs back in October shows that regions around the country who are growing their power system, expanding the load, actually see electricity rates go down. And it's as simple as I sell more megawatt hours, so the cost per megawatt hour can go down, okay? For the last 10 years, Montana's load has been almost flat, okay? And our rates are going up, okay? So there's an opportunity here. If we can bring in more load and we can get some investment, we can start driving some of these rates down. So there's a couple data points from national. Let's take a closer look. Excuse me, pass it up. Oh, this chart's not coming. Okay. I'm sorry, do you guys have red bars on your charts? Okay, good. I'm going to have to go off of memory. The chart, the bar on the left is their base case. So this is a 20-year plan put together by Northwestern Energy. And what they're planning on is retiring Colstrip in 2042. So we're going to lose 1,500 megawatts right off the bat, okay? And in their base case, you'll see, thank you. In their base case, you'll see they're going to add in 1,400 megawatts to replace Colstrip. And what are they using? The orange part of that bar is battery storage, the gray is natural gas, and red is nuclear, okay? What does their model do? It selects the least cost resource that will meet their reliability requirements. So it's batteries, gas, and nuclear. If we didn't increase our load, that's what their least cost plan would be. That doesn't mean that's what they're going to do. They just did a mathematical model and said, hey, if we follow the model, that's what it's going to tell us to do. Okay, they then modeled 3 other cases. 1, 150 megawatts of extra data centers. 2 was 650 megawatts of extra data centers. And 3, 1,160 megawatts of extra data centers. And that's important because Saby's data center is going to start off at 50 and go to 200. There's others in the state that are at 500 and 1,000, so we could get to 1,160, so that's why they modeled it. So what do you see is that, and this is the blue line at the top of the chart, is Northwestern Energy's estimated cost of electricity, their cost to produce it. So the base case, it's going to be $41 per megawatt hour, okay? The next case, 150 megawatts of data center load, you can see what they're going to do. They're going to have some nuclear, some gas, and some battery storage, but then you see that black blob, that's 370 megawatts of Colstrip power that they recently acquired from Puget Sound Energy. They're going to roll that back into the rate base. And what does that do to their cost? It takes their cost from $41 down to $35 because the coal energy is inexpensive. So that actually drives rates down, or their costs, okay? So now they're out of, that's all the Colstrip energy they have. That's one constraint. The other constraint that they placed on themselves is they have a net zero carbon emissions by 2050. So they've said we will not build any more carbon emitting sources after 2035. Okay, so now I gotta build 650 or 1,160 megawatts of extra generation, and I can't use carbon. Well, what they're going to plan to do is they're going to use natural gas up until 2035 because it's the cheapest resource, and then after that they're going to be building nuclear. And you can see in the 650 case there's a green on top of there's a green, a couple hundred megawatts of wind, and then at the 1160 they're going to build more natural gas, and then they're going to add some solar. Okay, so so they have a number of constraints, but the moral of the story is you look at that per unit cost from the base case to even the most extreme, there's really no significant difference, okay? So that's evidence that we can control the costs even if we're substantially growing the electric network in Montana, okay? The other thing that's important, as part of my role on the Governor's Energy Task Force, we're looking at how is Montana going to afford all these resources. Okay, we've been a net energy exporter for 50 years since we built Colstrip. And we financed Colstrip with a consortium of regional utilities from Washington, Oregon, California. Outside capital allowed us to build that. Okay? To replace Colstrip, we need outside capital. Or we will have electricity rate increases. So I am really excited about large industrial customers like the data centers coming to town to help us invest in our electric network. I think it's a very smart investment. So now let's talk more specifics about the actual project here in Butte. So the demand will start out at 50 megawatts and grow up to about 200, okay? And that supply will come from Northwestern Energy's share of Colstrip, as I mentioned before. And there will be some infrastructure upgrades. So the transmission will get the energy from Colstrip to Garrison, and then to get it from Garrison down to the data center site, there are some transmission lines, but they don't have enough capacity. They'll need to be upgraded, and then we'll need to build a new substation in the industrial park, and SABE will pay all of those expenses, okay? Okay, and then to wrap up on power, so we've got all the market forces that are tailwinds for us, but we also have the law. Montana law requires that new large customers, when they attach to the network, they do not harm or raise rates for any other customers. That's a statute on the Montana books. That's a rare statute. Not many states have that. Okay, the Public Service Commission is in charge of enforcing that, and so SABE and Northwestern Energy will have to go in front of the Public Service Commission and get approval for their connection, the terms, the prices, and have to demonstrate that it won't harm the existing customers, okay? And this PSC process is open. It's a quasi-judicial procedure, and there will be a lot of outside parties involved in it, so it gets a lot of public review. Now, also in this slide, and you can't read it very well, but the second to the last paragraph on Northwestern Energy's statement about creating a load tariff to frame all this states that in some cases, new large load customers may need to provide their own energy generation resources. And they're going to have to. We've got the proposed SABE data center here, upwards to 200 megawatts, and we could have over 1,000 megawatts, but Northwestern Energy only has 370 at their disposal. So there will need to be some additional construction of generation resources, and it's likely that the data centers will be very involved in that. So to wrap up on the electrical, I want to leave you with 4 points on electrical. One is that Northwestern Energy is going to use their existing generation resources for the SABE project. SABE will fund all necessary upgrades. Number 3 is all existing customers are protected by state law and oversight by the Montana Public Service Commission. And finally, the SABE data center electricity purchases will help fund needed upgrades to Montana's electric system, placing downward pressure on electric rates for all Montanans. So thank you. I'll turn it back over to the question here.
Yeah. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Mr. Morris, thanks for your expertise. I mean, pretty hard to find somebody sharper than you in electrical. And one of my questions is, this chart you have with the different colors and the different types of energy.
Yes.
The year 2042, we're talking 16 years. I watched the same presentation with the Energy Committee with the legislature. By law, they have to do this by that date, is what I understood.
Commissioner Callahan. Yeah, sorry.
That's a pretty tall challenge to get done in 16 years. Is that going to be possible?
Commissioner Callahan, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Commissioner Callahan. So the retirement date comes from the financial, what's the right term, depreciation, end of life on that asset, and it's probably got a few more years in it. So will it actually happen in 2042? Perhaps. That's the plan if everything goes to per the actuary tables. But there's a good chance it could be extended if the plant's in good enough shape and the utility wants to continue to invest in it. But with coal plants right now, there's a lot of risk, and so people are leery about investing. So part of me thinks, no, you could make it run for 10 more years, but on the other hand, you may not want it to run for 10 more years. You may want to be aggressive about replacing it. Now, with that said, 16 years is not very long. We've got two options to replace it, natural gas or nuclear. Natural gas is, we know how to do natural gas, but we don't have enough gas pipelines in the state right now, so we need to run gas pipelines to the tune of a few $1 billion, and then we need to build the gas plant. Nuclear, we're working hard at figuring out how to do that. In fact, Montana Tech's putting together a nuclear energy program, and we're working with the Energy Task Force of the governor to figure out how to efficiently get into nuclear, but that 16 years is not very long to get that going. So I am urging the state and the Energy Task Force to act with a sense of urgency because we need to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. For follow-up, Commissioner Callahan.
One more question on the Puget Sound and the Vista Power coming from 3 and 4 that Northwestern acquired, right? I think it was in December's Energy Subcommittee. They said something about Northwestern Energy is going to turn that into a different company, and it will be owned and run by an out-of-state company, which our PSC has no authority over. I don't know, maybe Mr. Babb or you can probably tackle that, or...
Commissioner Callahan, Mr. Morris.
Yes, Chief Executive and Commissioner Callahan, I know the answer to that. So Northwestern subsidiary purchased the energy, and their intent is to try to roll it back into the rate base, but the way the rules work right now with the Public Service Commission wants to minimize the cost to the ratepayers, okay? So they will not likely allow Northwestern Energy to roll that into the rate base because there's not enough demand for that energy right now. It would be excess demand we're paying for. So Northwestern did what they needed to. They put it in a subsidiary, and they will start to offer that on the free market. Now, so Montana's got an interesting setup. You can buy through the utility, but if you're a large customer, you can go through utility or you can go out on the market, okay? So any large customer can go do that. So Montana Resources buys on the market, right? So those options are still at play. And so we're going to have to watch this carefully to see how that works out. If they go to the free market, it's not going to affect our rates because it's just not, the Northwestern it won't bear any expense on that. They won't bring any revenue. However, as a customer of Northwestern, I want the data centers to go through Northwestern because now Northwestern has the capital they need to invest in our system.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. I think Commissioner O'Leary has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Mr. Morris, thank you for coming tonight. This is a great presentation. I appreciate the clarification on the usage throughout the year. You, when you're talking about the blowdowns, the couple times a year blowdowns, did they ever tell you what the total usage would be for that? Are we talking 1 million gallons, or is it a couple 100,000?
Commissioner O'Leary, Mr. Morris.
Chief Executive and Commissioner O'Leary, the short answer is I don't know. I would guess it's on the hundreds of thousands. It's not going to be huge, but that's something that the ad hoc committee will find an answer to.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And then one follow-up. This is maybe a broader question, but around curtailment. Texas, we saw what happened down in Texas a couple years ago, and it was a mess. These large loads obviously are not necessary loads, right? They might think they're necessary, but for life, they're not necessary. Is there any discussion about how curtailment would happen in the case of a major disaster? Are data centers expected to shed loads first, or how exactly would that work?
Commissioner O'Leary, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Chief Executive and Commissioner O'Leary. That's going to be dependent on each utility. I don't specifically know if there's any plans in place for Northwestern. In my previous career, I worked on high-speed load shedding, and there will be some priorities set up. So at the end of the day, you know, if things go bad, the utility is going to focus on critical loads. Those typically are hospitals and emergency response, and so there will be some remedial action schemes. Now, with that said, there also will be some negotiations between the utilities and the data centers on, okay, if you want to guarantee, are you going to pay for resource adequacy and the capacity for that, or are you going to provide your own? And those are negotiations between the utility and the data center.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
And just one last quick follow-up. You were just talking about the long-term amortization of this costs for the rate base. Is there any discussion about how long these contracts with Northwestern Energy would be with the data centers, whether it's SABE or others, and is that an appropriate or a sufficient amount of time to recollect the cost of the investment in Colstrip, the investment in the Garrison line, Garrison to Butte line, the power stations, et cetera?
Commissioner O'Leary, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Chief Executive and Commissioner. So the expenses for like the line between, say, Garrison and the data center and the substation, I expect those would be paid for up front. Okay, but in the long-term contract, that's a good question. And that this is where it's going to be a negotiation, and I'm not privy to those, but here's my position again as a customer in Northwestern. I want that data center part of the rate base, but there's risk to that. Okay, now if Northwestern and the Public Service Commission get too aggressive and push the data center to some terms that they can't accept, that's going to push the data center to go out to market, and we're going to lose that. So I think we need to look at this as a team to figure out how to do that. But the short answer is I don't know what those terms are going to be. That's something that the utility and the data center we're going to have to work through and then take in front of the PSC.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Thank you. Any other questions before Mr. Morris says? Okay. Continue. Thank you.
So that's three major topics on this project, and you can see how complicated it can be when you're talking power, and I'm thankful for these three gentlemen with their backgrounds and knowledge to be able to answer those comments and questions and be able to present to you guys. The next big topic, what I called my big four, right, was taxes, power, water, and jobs. And this slide came from John Sabey on a public presentation at the TED board meeting. And when we're hearing what's going to be, this project will create, when it's fully built out, 200 jobs. And being in this role, we've gotten a lot of pushback, a lot of questions like, where do those jobs come from? I'm looking online, Sabey doesn't have that many people. Here, Mr. Sabey stated that the Quincy facility, which runs at 123 megawatts, employs 200 full-time employees. And then the next line, Sabey has a facility they call the Columbia site, which is 70 megawatts, and they have 140 full-time employees. And I was still getting pushback, so I called Maria, one of the executives with Sabey, to ask, and so I can hear it firsthand, like, where's these numbers coming from? And she confirmed those numbers for me. And the way to think of it really is the more megawatts you have, the more square footage you have, the more servers you have, the more cooling systems you have, the more infrastructure, the more people you need. So when we talk 200 megawatts, she's like, yeah, we're expecting 200 people. Based on that, 200 should be a pretty conservative number. Now it's a full build out, right? So we're doing 50 megawatts at a time. We're talking 10 years. Maybe technology changes. Maybe it's 200. Maybe it's a little less than 200. But those are the numbers that the Sabey has given us. The pay somewhere $25, $30 an hour. starting wages, those could change again over 10 years. We should see some sort of growth. Professional jobs, 100,000 plus. Construction they're talking a 10-year window for construction, probably like 50 megawatts at a time, build out so they can get online, run, and continue to do some type of segmented construction activity at 50 megawatts at a time. Now, some of those jobs, they're full-time jobs. They may not be direct SABE employees. They may be a tenant. So if you think of SABE having, building this facility, think of them almost as a mall, and they're the landlord, and they have tenants inside their facility. So it could be a Microsoft, it could be a Netflix, it could be Amazon, it could be whomever, right? And so each of those businesses will bring in employees. So when you see the 200 number, people are saying, SABE doesn't have that. SABE may not have the 200. The total number could be some SABE workers, some contract workers like security could be contracted out, and then your tenants will have workers. It's a 24/7 operation. So you're gonna have people around the clock working, okay? I think I have more on jobs. The next slide. So what the impact of the local job market and Montana Tech and Highlands College. The construction build out will provide a lot of construction jobs, and you've heard a lot of folks from the union halls saying they really want these construction jobs locally. It's also good for Highlands College graduates who work in the trades or want to work in the trades. Agreements with other, with the HVAC, we're going to be more cooling than heating, and electrical contractors. And SABE has partnered with local community colleges in their other facilities. So at Grant County, Big Bend Community Colleges in Grant County, excuse me, they work with those schools to help develop workers to get into their system. And so what I found interesting about this, and I talked a lot to Mr. McLean and Ms. Burke from the schools, is that Tech is positioned with their STEM programs to support a technology business like a data center. Highlands College is pretty nimble to be able to provide programs around the trades and to be able to adjust their curriculum, maybe adjust classes. Of course, if they have to develop a whole new program, they have to go to the Board of Regents. But I thought it was important, you know, when businesses come to Butte, and one of the things that the economic development folks do is they pitch about Montana Tech and Highlands College. Both schools are doing terrific, and their head count's up, jobs are up. It's really been really good for Tech and Highlands College. So what do the numbers really look like? This kind of goes back to that 200 number, right? Direct data center operations, somewhere up to 60 people permanent. That'd be technicians, engineers, ops managers, IT infrastructure, and staff. On-site support, up to about 160. You have 24/7 security, facilities, maintenance, electrical, cooling, vendors, network services, embedded tenants, and client staff. So I talked to a person who works for Microsoft, and essentially a data center is going to have like a SOC, a control room. They call it the SOC. And so somebody in that control room is watching over the operations. They could see everything in these different set of servers that's going on. So they can see if there's temperatures going up or electrical trips. They'll have, during the day, you'll have your overhead type people. So you're going to have management, you're going to have purchasing, you'll have security, of course, around the clock. But again, they are looking at about 200's about number. We had a lot of conversations. What if it was 50? What if it was 400? There's no equation for jobs per acre, jobs per megawatt, jobs per square foot, right? So we're basing those numbers based on what their other data centers have in Quincy. And then the construction jobs, we're looking at up to 600 positions for construction over a 10-year window. Big Four, we kind of hit all those big four topics, and they've been a pretty hot topic. So I'm hoping that we're hoping we've dug into it and given you guys the information on those topics. Obviously, not that any of these topics aren't important, right? They all are. The environmental impacts are pretty big. So Metro Sewer permits, SABE will have a discharge to the Metro Sewer. They'll also have a potable water coming into them. So they'll have a kitchenette, they'll have bathrooms, maybe locker rooms, that kind of thing. So they'll have potable water for that, and their discharge will go to Metro Sewer. Both of which will be an agreement contract with Butte-Silver on what that is. I think they made a pretty good point that the industrial water is separate and not discharged into Metro. And there's no above ground water discharge like REC has. That's a complicated mess, if you want to ask me. So they have the permits. They do pay to connect to Metro and to the potable water. E-waste obviously is a pretty big topic. SABE contracts with e-waste disposal contractor to remove their waste. It's not something you just throw into the Butte-Silver landfill. It says they do accept some, but from what I've talked to SABE, they do not plan to dump e-waste into our landfill. And then the diesel generators, we've had a lot of questions on diesel generators. We do need some more information, I think, on those. They're kind of in the design phase right now, so we don't know a lot of detail about their diesel generators. How much, what megawatt each one of them carry, how long they run. They do have to test them. They'll likely be enclosed in some type of a building, very similar to how REC has a couple of big generators they use in the event they need power. But I think we need to ask, as their process goes along, they will have to have a permit and follow the zoning the requirements for running generators. Community impacts. Noise. They have to adhere to the codes, right? The centers in Quincy are not noisy from folks that traveled to Quincy and visited. I've talked to a friend of mine who works for Micron in Boise. He says he's near a data center. You can hear the fans running, but it's not necessarily noisy. I have asked for some data. You know, we can get a reading from the gate, a reading from the building, and see what the dBs are. I'm still waiting on that information. Housing as an impact, if being a 10-year build out, and what we're working on for housing, or what what Butte-Silver is working on for housing, don't necessarily see it being a big impact where people are, we're not going to get flooded with, during the days of REC ASME at the time, I think we peaked out at 1,800 construction workers. Housing was a big deal. If we're saying 600 workers over a 10-year window, and if a lot of the workers are already local, we don't really see housing as going to be a real critical problem. Butte-Silver, they're working on housing expansion issues, and they've got a housing coordinator that's been hired in. So lighting, I've talked to Maria and asked about lighting and said we get a lot of concern about lighting. Now the beauty is it's not in the middle of town, but we can ask for down lighting, keep it so it's not so bright. It won't be like FedEx or Old Dominion because they're not going to be running trucks around the clock. Those sites are real bright for safety purposes and security purposes. They do have to have lighting for security. Security is we talk cybersecurity. Cybersecurity includes physical security. So security on a data center is really quite important. So there will be lighting. But Butte-Silver can ask, can we have down lighting, keep that lighting minimal? Can we put motion sensors so the lighting, when it does come on, it's because somebody's in that area? Traffic. A lot of questions on all these topics. So I laugh at some of them, but traffic, the roads in the park are designed for truck traffic, and you have some major truck traffic projects or companies already, FedEx, Old Dominion, REC, and others. They're running trucks all the time. The roads are designed for it. The new bridge goes over the railroad tracks that was put in the last 8 years, I think. And just for your background, just so you know, I was 23 years at REC, so I was out in that park for a long time. I've been away from REC for almost 6 years now, but the original bridge that was over those tracks was pretty rugged. So that bridge has been built up. The bridge over the highway system is, that question came up, and that, I believe you guys have copies of all those questions and answers in a Excel spreadsheet. That bridge is going to be controlled by the Department of Transportation, not by Butte-Silver Bow. So Butte-Silver Bow puts, I believe they put the question forward towards the Department of Transportation to do a traffic study and see if that bridge needs to be upgraded or not. And again, I don't expect to have the traffic like we did during the REC or ASME construction days. That was 5 o'clock paycheck day was a day you don't want to be on that road. Okay, we've given you a lot of information. I'm hoping, again, when Chief Executive Gallagher asked for me to be on the committee, it's really to go out and ask the questions and get the answers best of our ability. If there are questions, if we're still in design phase and we need to still get some more questions, they'll come up and they'll get hit through the process that normally occurs when you're doing a construction project. Couple of key points I want to iterate, if I can. I don't want to be too repetitive. I know it's getting late. But the team that was put together, in my opinion, they're a group of people, you know most of them, deep Butte roots. They love Butte. They want what's best for Butte. I learned a ton working with the folks. I learned a lot on power and the Silver Lake water system. Silver Lake has a bottom. Right? Somebody's laughing. So growing up as a kid in Butte, I always, my parents always told me there's no bottom to that lake. And I think it's because the smelter and the mining use that water like crazy, and that water never changed. I think another important point, REC broke ground 30 years ago. Kind of let that sink in a little bit. And Butte-Silver Bow has been promoting that park for 30 years. So we're about to 18 companies. I was trying to count them up on my head. 800 jobs, but it's taken 30 years to get there. If you look at the website for the park, you'll see how it's being promoted. It's being promoted that the land is available. It's being promoted that there's power, there's utilities, there's water. They're pitching water for companies to come in, right? Industrial companies to come in. It's the first time in 30 years, I think, that Butte's had a $1 billion company, where a company wanting to invest $1 billion in Butte. Those kind of companies don't show up very often. Sideboards. I've had people ask about sideboards. Must be a new 2026 buzzword. But what you heard from Bob on power, working with Northwestern Energy and the Public Service Commission, everybody in here knows how complicated that is, or if you didn't, you do now. It's quite complicated. And that process will control the power problems, control the power charges, control the power usage, and that's your sideboards on power. The water side, it's the same thing with Butte-Silver Bow. With a company connects into that Silver Lake water system, there's sideboards on that contract that they have set up with the Butte-Silver Bow. So there's control. You can't just discharge above ground without a permit. So sideboards. They'll connect to Butte's to Metro Sewer, and they'll have a contract on how they use that system. So there's sideboards. So Butte does have a strong opportunity to expand its economy and welcome Sabey Data Center. From the conversations folks have had with Sabey personnel, and one comment is that we had slides. We kind of wanted to trim this down, but there was a slide by Ms. Sullivan for the BLDC. She contacted her equivalent local development corp in Quincy to ask questions about Sabey. You know, tell me about them, right? And all the feedback was they're a good community partner. They donate to the food bank, they support kids programs, and they're good. They're good businesses to have. They're good people to have. So, an anchor employer like Sabey can help attract additional high-tech businesses. When ASME was built, everybody kind of said, we'll get it all the way down the line to a chip manufacturer. That's very, very expensive, very, very complicated, and it never happened, right? So I was talking to Mr. Morris, what if a data center came here, what can we promote to go with that, right? Maybe an HVAC equipment manufacturer. Now I'm in manufacturing, so I love the idea of that, right? And maybe we can tack in other techie type businesses that can come to Butte, and we can grow that park and grow Butte, and grow our economy. We do have an underutilized industrial water system, right? It's rated at 25 million gallons a day. Without the mining, that right now we're using 10% of that water. It's an attractive item that we can pitch to companies to come to Butte because we have that water available. Sabey, the electrical purchases will fund needed upgrades to the electrical system. I think you caught that from Bob. I don't need to repeat that. Other prospective land purchases are positioned to deliver benefits comparable to those offered by Sabey. Two last things, and then I'll pipe it down finally, because I think you're probably getting tired. If we choose not to accept this project, what are the drawbacks, right? The company has viable options in other counties in the state of Montana. So if we don't get this, we don't get the jobs, we don't get the tax base, another county will. So for example, what if? We could play a little bit of what if game. What if they went to Deer Lodge County or Powell County? So they're pretty close to Butte if that happens. But if they went to Deer Lodge County, it's the same power, it's the same construction jobs, it's the same 200 employees, just somebody has to commute a little further. But the tax goes to Deer Lodge County, right? So it would be the same with Powell County and other counties. So there's an opportunity here. Again, I'm trying to be neutral and fact-based. So I think Sabey's looking at other areas, so if it doesn't come here, it looks like they may go other counties in the state. And there's other data centers looking at Great Falls, Billings, et cetera. Lastly, there's an Energy Task Force open house meeting next Wednesday night. I don't know if you're aware of it, 5:30 to 7:30 at the sub at Montana Tech. And it's at the Copper Lounge in the Student Union Building. Sabey representatives will be there. So you have an opportunity to meet some. I'm not sure who's going to be there. I'd never heard, but there will be some people here from Sabey. So you have the opportunity to speak with them. You also have the opportunity to speak with people, I believe, from the task force, from the Energy Task Force that Bob mentioned earlier. And with that, I think that's all my notes, folks. So I do want to say real quick, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Chief Executive, thank you for the opportunity to ask me to be on the committee. I greatly appreciate it. I did learn on, for being a Butte native and being here forever, I did learn an awful lot about this, about what Butte has to offer.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Mr. Sullivan, I want to thank you and your task force. I know you guys did put an incredible amount of work in. Like you said, most everybody's from Butte, and they're very dedicated into doing the right thing for Butte, and we appreciate everything you've done. And I do have one complaint, though. When you schedule meetings on Wednesdays, we can't show up. We got council. But I got one question for you. On your community impacts, the noise deal, it says here, adhere to zoning codes. We all know that's heavy industrial out there, and there's no zoning code for that. We don't have a noise zone in the urban area. We get complaints all the time for noise, and they say, we can't enforce it, there's no law.
Commissioner Callahan, I will say this. Being at Mako just recently, that's the one thing we do have, is we have zoning out there, whereas a lot of the data centers in counties are locating where there is no zoning. So we do have some sideboards locally that we can do that. Now, noise and things like that, I know that that's part of what we can talk about as we go through that. But if Director Crane would like to come up.
Sorry. Thanks. Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Callahan. The RM2 zone is the rural high and heavy industrial zone here in Silver Bow County. Within that zoning ordinance, there is specific provision as it relates to both noise and vibration, and there are requirements to keep noise associated with activities in that zone less than 60 decibels. There are some formulas that have to be calculated based upon the duration of that sound, and that sets a threshold. It's very similar also for the vibration that might be created by any type of use in that zone. So there are provisions in the existing code for noise and for vibration. As some of you are aware, we're in the process of redrafting the zoning ordinance for Silver Bow County. Those same provisions will be carried over into the new draft as well. And then again, that will be subject to public input and consideration.
Thank you, Director Crane. Follow-up, Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you. I guess my question to that is, as you know, in Butte, we always say, well, they're grandfathered, they were already here. If they get in before we get this zoning thing done, they won't have to adhere to those codes. Is that what you're saying?
Commissioner Callahan, as she said, those will carry over from the existing code into there, so it's already in the code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Callahan, that's correct. There are existing provisions in the existing code that have requirements for noise and vibration. And in the drafting of the code, we have emulated those provisions for heavy industrial activity as well. So you're correct. There are grandfather clauses, but at this point, this particular use would not qualify for those because they are not in operation.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of commissioners? Yeah, Commissioner Gerbrandt.
Yeah, Chief Executive Gallagher and Mr. Sullivan, I'd like to go back to the employment numbers that you presented. And I guess my real question is, what's the guarantee that those positions are going to be filled with people from Butte and from our Silver Bow County? The permanent positions, I mean, maybe a lot of those can be done remotely. The construction positions, they may bring in an outside contractor to do most of that. And the reason I asked is that I had a phone call from a manager of a title company here in Butte that was complaining that the title work for Savvy was done from out of state.
Commissioner Gerbrandt, I don't think that's a question for Mr. Sullivan, but so as far as the title work, like any business that locates here, they're the ones paying for that title work, and they can choose that. Now we can offer them to who is local and encourage them to try to do that, but we cannot mandate that, much like we can't mandate when there's a contract out there, we can't mandate who is selected. But I will say that the contractors that are in the audience in here, SABE did come and talk to them about hiring locally on those things. Now, on the title thing, I've had those same calls, and we can try to encourage, but we cannot mandate. We, as a legislative body here, cannot mandate that. We can't make them hire internally or the people that they hire at the place. Now, we would highly encourage, I think, is what we can do here, but we can't mandate. All right. Any other questions of commissioners?
Chief Executive Commissioner Callahan, I just want to say thank you for the kind words. I'm very impressed with this team, and again, I'm humbled that they asked for that. I would share it. The knowledge, the deep roots, the Butte love of Butte, Montana, Butte, America, right? Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the kind words.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you, Chief Executive.
Okay, Commissioner Shea. No, you're good.
This might not necessarily be a question for you. Maybe I'm speaking to SABE. They're probably listening. You and the ad hoc committee, of course, indicated that you're not that worried about housing. I am. I was right in the middle of all the 1923 stuff when it happened. That added 300 people to our community in a very short period of time, and I know that that's it's certainly a possibility. And I appreciate the work that our local folks are doing around housing. But I would like to see what SABE's plan is to prevent disruption. We've got a lot of people who rent in this community, and it is tough, is really difficult. So, I hope that they are recognizing that and are not going to just ignore the problem entirely.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Leary. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I would also like to thank the committee. I've either attended or in person or online all of the meetings. They're super informative. I do appreciate all of the hard work that you guys are putting into it, because I know that that is taking incredible amount of your time on top of what everybody already does for their lives. A random question, I see there's 26 people watching online. Will the ad hoc committee meetings continue on Tuesdays going forward?
Yeah, Commissioner Shea, Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, thank you. I think what we're going to do, the plan would be we're going to hold off on any further meetings for the time being until we get more information from SABE. With the extension of the buy-sell on the property and this presentation, I think we have the opportunity to kind of hold off. It is very time-consuming, right? And I appreciate that comment. The other comment I'll say is there were working meetings that we were doing. If you sat through those working meetings, we use this room so everybody can hear us and see what we're doing. A working meeting in a public environment, I found is my first time doing that. It was very difficult. It's very difficult to discuss and say, hey, what about this? Or throw this in, throw this out, add this, and then you get comments that your slides they're ugly, right? They're this or that, and it's like, it's a work in progress. So I appreciate the comment, and I do appreciate all the work that the team put into it. The slides turn out, I think they turn out pretty amazing, really, for how they look, right? I'm gonna shift to the housing comment. My intent was saying I'm not too concerned about it, because I know Butte-Silver was working on a housing, and if it's a 10-year build out, and if we can use local contractors, it's not like we're going to bring in a whole bunch of contractors. So I'm hoping part of that was me saying I think Butte-Silver is going the right direction. Housing is going to be difficult, as you know, with the state of Montana, it's expensive, and everything we got going on that way. But I think instead of just bombarding this and getting it built in 2 years and stretching that out will help housing. Maybe I should say it that way. So thank you both for your comments. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. And I will say this on meetings, we intend to continue as needed. So when we need to bring the group back together, if there's questions that come up that haven't been answered, and then we get the ad hoc committee, then we'll schedule as needed to answer the questions. So follow Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I was listening to an article, because we listen to articles now, right? We don't read them. because we can multitask that
You
way.
use data to do that,
we,
do you?
we use data, yeah. And they were talking about the nature of the technology and it changing so fast, and that in the near future, the common knowledge or the theory is that data centers won't need to use as much space as they use now. And so I'm sure that someone from Sabia is listening, and just for the record, I would like you to come before the council instead of just on a Wednesday night somewhere else when we can't go. But I'm wondering if, and this might not be a question for you, it probably isn't, but you can pose it to them, or I would really love to pose it to them in person. What does a reduction in size look like? What does decommissioning look like if they were to, who knows? Who knows what technology is going to bring? That building may become obsolete someday. So I would like to know what that would look like in the future, if you could have a crystal ball.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Shea. And I think that those are questions that we can directly at the data center and ask for what their plans are towards that. And as you said, everything's evolving so quickly, and that was a lot of the topics we talked about today about how fast this is moving and the need for it.
Yeah, Chief Executive.
Yeah.
Chief Executive and Commissioner Shea. It's a great question, and we'll pose that. The crystal ball is really difficult. Technology changes so fast. About every 6 months, something different's happening. So would they be able to condense and fit more servers in that same square footage? But depending where they're going to be with power, are they going to be allowed to go to 250, 300? You know, there's those sideboards, right? They'll keep them in. But the technology question, I kind of talked to Maria about that a little bit. It's hard to say where it's going to go. I did have, I hope everybody's sitting down for this one, but I did have told that data centers are going to be in space and that it's cold, it stays cold, and that we won't have data centers on the ground. We're currently pushing 5,000 data centers in the United States. I have a hard time seeing them going away. I've had a lot of questions. What if they did go away? What would you do with the building? It'd get repurposed in some fashion. And if you look at, we could probably come up with about 7 or 8 or 10 examples pretty quick in Montana, in Butte, right, of the MSE site and others that get repurposed. So something could move into it, but it's a good question.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher and Commissioner. I've done a fair amount of research on data centers, and are they a bubble or are they a trend? And so there's an excellent article recently written by Mark Mills with National Energy Analytics, and I can make that available to the council. But basically the question is this going to be a bubble or is it going to keep going? And so right now we spend about $1 trillion a year in data centers, and it's going to go to about $2 trillion. It's going to be about 5% of our GDP, okay? And Mr. Mills compares that to the build out of the interstate highway system. And he also compares it to the build out of the chemical industry in the United States in the late 1800s, which revolutionized life. And it was not a bubble, it was a trend, and it was about 5% of GDP. And why it was sustainable was it increased productivity. And so right now, data centers and artificial intelligence are improving productivity, and it's expected to go from 1.5% per year to 3 or 4% per year. That will pay for this build out of artificial intelligence and data centers. So Mark Mills and a lot of other experts are saying this has got legs because it's self-sustaining. It's not paid for by the government. It's private capital. So they believe that it's gonna run for a while. Now the technology, the computers and that they're obsolete in 3 years. So what's happening is you're going to build the data center. The shell will last a long time, but the equipment inside is going to change out all the time, which is actually a good thing because we can tax it. Right, so are there guarantees? No, but it's got a lot of legs, and a lot of smart people are thinking it's going to be around for quite a while.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Follow-up, Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Mr. Morris, since you stepped back up to the mic, I had one question I forgot to ask, which is around the tariff, rate and tariff. Has Northwestern Energy filed that? I have not found anything on the docket whether they have actually filed for that tariff or not.
Commissioner O'Leary, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Chief Executive and Commissioner. No, they have not. And so what they need to do is they need to come to terms with SABE, and then they can take that together in front of the PSC. So I think what they're looking to do is to find the parameters for the agreement before they file. So they need the specifics.
Yeah, Mr. Morris, and that's what I heard. They have to have a large load customer to take in front of the PSC before they propose this, because they can't do it preemptively until they have that large load customer. So, all right. Thank you. Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Chief Executive. And on that note, they'd probably have to have land purchased and owned before they would want to even, move on with that too. That'd probably be a good idea. So hopefully they're writing a check in August so we can get her done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. All right. Any other questions? Thank you very much. It's been a long night. I can't tell you how much we appreciate all the work that you put into this. So thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 3, communication number 2026-72. Wait 1 second here. Does anyone need a break? Do we need like a couple-minute break? Is everybody okay to keep moving? We're good? Okay. All right. Moving on. Item number 3, communication number 2026-72. Karen Malachtan, Butte-Silver Bowl Health Officer, requesting Council of Commissioners permission to schedule a presentation on February 18th for an update on the Butte-Silver Bowl Health Department. Thank you for being patient.
No, thank you for letting me present tonight. And I promise I've practiced this several times and I get faster each time. So this is not going to take me long at all. Which button do I? Okay, so for the record, I'm Karen Malachny, Health Officer from Butte-Silver Bow. Don't laugh. Thank you for the opportunity to present on an update for the Health Department and some of our programs. As you know, public health is often most vulnerable during a crisis, but our real work happens every single day in prevention, promotion, and protection of community well-being. So this is just some of the things we'll cover briefly. Our mission, vision, values, who we are, a brief financial overview, some of our divisions and functions, a brief touch on accreditation, what our current workforce looks like, our development, 2025 challenges, and 2026 priorities. And I brought a hard copy this time. So our mission is the Butte-Silver Bow Health Department protects, promotes, and improves the health and well-being of Butte-Silver Bow residents. Our vision is Butte-Silver Bow is a healthy community where all people thrive, and our core values are respect, leadership, innovation, science, quality, service, stewardship, vision, and integrity. We are your local public health authority. We have statutory responsibilities under Montana law that are found in the MCAs and administrative rules of Montana. We are a multi-division department. We do have a board of health that exists of Ivy Fredrickson is our current chairwoman, Dr. Mike Welker, Dr. Toby Richards, Dr. Sarah Maloney, Dr. Julie Hart, and Commissioner Hattie Thatcher. We do have a 24/7 response capability, and our current workforce consists of 28 FTEs and 1 RN position that's waiting to be filled. Our total budget consists over just a little over $3 million. Our local funds are a little over 41% of that. Grant funding comes from a little over 48%. Fees and revenues are generated about 10%, and donations are 0.24% of that funding. Some of our divisions and functions are broken into environmental health, clinical and preventive services, disease control, community prevention and preparedness, and some of those are broken down. Some of those other communicable diseases under disease control, lead program is under community prevention, inspections, DEQ subdivision reviews, all those fall under environmental health. So a 2025 snapshot by the numbers. So this is just data that we've collected throughout the year just to show you basically how many things we do by tally marks. So 2025, the Environmental Health Division saw the retirement of an individual that had over 30 years of institutional knowledge. We were able to hire a sanitarian in training, and he'll take the RS exam in May. Throughout 2025, our environmental health team did 268 retail food inspections, 53 pools and spas, 19 public accommodations, 34 trailer courts, 20 body piercing and tattoo services, 30 compliance and enforcement. 21 were non-food, 9 were food related. DEQ subdivision reviews were 24, local non-degradation reviews 15, wastewater permits issued were 46. 4 of those were replacement wastewater permits, so 42 of those were actually brand new wastewater permits. 30 wastewater permits were inspected. We made 63 visits to our air station, 69 animal bite investigations, 28 daycare and group home inspections, and 40 temporary food establishment permits. And those are things like Henri Raw, Folk Festival, those types of things. When food vendors come in, they need a temporary food permit, so we inspect those. Clinical and preventive services, 698 patients in our family planning clinic, 1,942 childhood and adult vaccines, 72 travel appointments. Those are different than regular vaccine appointments. 18 home visits to people who are homebound and can't get to the clinic for whatever reason. We did 13 off-site vaccine clinics, 10 Narcan trainings, where 157 people were trained, 1,529 boxes of Narcan were distributed. 842 of those boxes were directly to our SSP participants. And brand new for this year, detention center nursing, so next year we'll have data on that. Our lead program is specific to, is funded specifically through RMAP. So we have an environmental health nurse that, like I said, is specifically funded through our RMAP program. But we also receive some grant funding that allows us to strengthen lead poisoning prevention activities in Butte by increasing blood lead testing and reporting. So her program, she did 19 specific outreach events related to lead, 5 off-site testing events, 27 blood draws, 26 capillary blood draws, 23 new investigations, 22 referrals to RMAP, 3 referrals received from RMAP, and then she had to review over 400 reportable lead cases. Disease control, 561 cases reported. We saw 1,685 participants in our SSP program, distributed 43,533 syringes, collected 42,533 syringes. We took care of 5 latent TB clients, administered 489 HIV tests with 1 positive result that we discovered, 412 hepatitis C tests with 63 positives, 500 chlamydia and gonorrhea tests administered. It's a duo test with 113 positives from our clinic and 6 positive gonorrhea tests, and then 284 syphilis tests with 6 positives. Oh, I didn't push all that. Okay. So our wastewater surveillance is one of the most innovative surveillance tools we currently use in Butte-Silver. Wastewater monitoring allows us to measure disease activity across the entire community, not just among people who seek testing or medical care. People often shed viruses before they feel sick. This gives us a good indicator of what's circulating and can act as an early warning system. So these are the 5 viruses that we currently test for in our wastewater: influenza A, influenza B, COVID, RSV, and measles. And this is actually a slide of what is supposed to be flu A and flu B, but it is not there. So it would show you that flu A is circulating more prevalent than flu B right now. And it's a good indicator of when flu shows up in the community before people even get sick. So we can tell hospitals, clinics, flu is here, so it's not too late to get vaccinated, and I did not do that either. In community prevention, just some more numbers. Our PrEP health educator taught 1,070 students. Tobacco prevention health educator, 46 presentations, 24 MIP classes. The Sun Bus was here this year. 114 people were screened, 27 suspicious lesions were found, 1 basal cell carcinoma, and 2 melanomas were found. We have a parents as teachers with 11 families enrolled. We reviewed 61% of daycares in Butte-Silver for up-to-date immunizations. Our behavioral health coordinator did 2 assist trainings for the community, became an adult mental health first aid trainer. We have a community-based care coordinator that provided 22 clients resources and connections. Our behavioral health coordinator helped reestablish the CAT team. We had 4 Crisis Now Coalition meetings, and he also led 12 behavioral local health advisory council meetings. Our WIC program saw 5,692 total appointments, 238 new enrollments, and 143 lead checks. Injury prevention, we distributed 200 firearm locks and 2 firearm safes. We were actually invited to participate at a sportsman's banquet, and we gave away one of the gun safes there. So that was pretty exciting. We got invited back this year too. Our car seat program, we partner with the Butte-Silver Fire Department, and this year we checked 39 car seats and distributed 44 more. FICMR, that's the Fetal Infant Child Maternal Mortality Review Team. We review all the infant deaths under the age of 18 and any maternal deaths of any mother that would die while she's pregnant. And the results of that, we do prevention activities to ensure that those types of deaths don't happen. Preparedness, this is emergency preparedness, so we participated in events like the municipal water event, the wind event, our wildfire smoke response plan. We distributed 50 air purifiers, and then our coordinator also developed something called the preparedness hookup. So if you don't receive that in your inbox every now and again, let me know and I'll get you hooked up with the preparedness hookup. It's just keeps you informed about various preparedness related topics. Then on to some fun stuff about accreditation. The Public Health Accreditation Board is a structured supportive option for local, tribal, and territorial health departments that are not yet ready for full accreditation. It helps to strengthen foundational capabilities, improve infrastructure, and advance system transformation while working towards accreditation readiness. The program evaluates departments on 34 foundational capability measures across 2 tracks, both the service and partnerships and health department systems, providing an achievable, nationally aligned pathways for progress. So we actually started this program in March of 2023. We were one of 6 health departments to be a pilot program to prepare to start our journey to become pathways recognized. We officially started the cohort in May of 2025. There were 4 learning community sessions that Taylor Pisani attended. We submitted all of our paperwork December 31st, 2025. This fall, 2026, we'll find out if we receive pathways recognition. And to date, only 5 health departments in the United States are pathways recognized. So if we get recognized, that'll be a huge achievement for us. And then if we do get recognized, we'll go into full accreditation, and that we'll be asking for another FTE to support our efforts in doing that. And we are the last largest health department in Montana that is not accredited. So that is a goal of ours. 2 employees recently earned graduate level certificates from the University of Montana School of Public Health in December 2025. 5 more employees received scholarships for the next cohort that will start in August of 2026 to earn graduate certificate in public health and public health administration. This program offers 4 semesters of intensive graduate level coursework that will enable employees to have a better understanding of the foundational services of public health and how we can better serve our community. Some of the challenges we faced in 2025 is our workforce recruitment and retention, funding. One day we had funding from a grantor, and the next hour we didn't, and then the next hour we got it back. So it was always kind of a touch and go. Emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases, highly pathogenic avian influenza. We're doing an exercise on that in the end of March. And measles, vaccine preventable diseases. We've never really had to deal with measles before last year. And then maintaining public trust while delivering essential services. in a complex and evolving health environment. It's always challenging. And some of our priorities for 2026, the Community Health Needs Assessment will come out February 25th, next Wednesday, from 11 to 1 at the Student Union Building at Tech. If you can't come in person, you can come on, join online and hear the results. That will drive what we do for the next 3 years. We will do a community health improvement plan, which moves the community health needs assessment from assessment to action. And then I did touch upon our panel discussion for highly pathogenic avian influenza that basically teaches backyard flock chicken owners how to keep their flocks safe and healthy from avian influenza. We'll continue to build our behavioral and health and substance use programs with an emphasis on reducing stigma. Family planning, we just hired a new nurse practitioner that will start in March. So we'll work with her to get her established in the community, fill the remaining RN position, and then hopefully achieve pathways recognition and get an accreditation coordinator. And then something that Taylor was able to touch on today at the community action team is our Butte Strong Stigma Free Pledge. Some of the surveys that we've done with our SSP participants is some of the reasons they don't seek medical care is they've been stigmatized in one way or another by the medical community. And so what one of our employees did was they designed this patch, Butte Strong Stigma Free, and then a pledge that goes along with it. So people who are use substances in the community, if they see somebody wearing this patch, then they know that that person is trauma informed. So it's a safe place for them to land. It's a safe place for them to be able to approach, or if that is in the window of a clinic, then it's a safe place for them to go seek care. And with that, I think that's it. That's all. That was quicker than I've ever done it.
Yeah, thank you, Director Malakny. Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Ms. Malakny. Who would know that you have so much on your plate? You need several plates to hold all that. One of my questions is the wastewater testing. I remember back in COVID we did that, and it was very expensive, and we were using ARPA money to do it. Are you getting additional grant money to do that? It looks to me like you must be doing it regular for those kind of numbers.
Commissioner Callahan, Director Malakny.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Callahan, for the question. Yes, we do get grant funding from that, and it is a direct result from COVID. It started with just COVID being tested, with then flu added on in March of 2024, and then we just added on RSV and measles. So we're hoping to keep expanding and keep that going, because it is a good early indicator of what's out there.
Good. Well, thanks. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Any other? Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Thank you for the presentation. Just one quick question. I saw the Narcan distributed numbers were, seems like a lot of those. Do you have any information on whether or not they're being used, or how they're being used, or in what quantity?
Commissioner O'Leary, Director Malakny.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner O'Leary. So I believe it was 1,529 were distributed. 842 of those went directly to our participants in our SSP program. So that's our syringe service program. So that is directly with two people who actively use drugs. So it's going directly to people who will use them, or people who send people to our SSP program that will use it. So some of it went to trainings, some of it, we encourage people to take Narcan. If you have a first aid kit in your car, you have gloves, you have maybe a face mask, you should have Narcan, because you never know when you might need it. It's just kind of like that extra accessory that you never thought you might need, but it's always good to have. They're temperature sensitive, so you always have to be mindful of that. But it's something that everybody should carry, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Director Malakny. And yeah, I think that it's I think to your point, you're asking how many do we know. I think they're not all reported. And emergency services can report theirs, but I don't think there's a lot that are used that aren't. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. No questions, but I just do want to say that I'm incredibly proud of the work that our health department does. I think you are a wonderful health officer and leader down there. I really loved the stigma-free piece at the end, and I love to see how much better we all are now around being informed around trauma, stigma. Nobody ever had their disease cured by being shamed. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing those patches and being part of that program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea. Any other questions? I just want to say thanks. I know the work that your team does, and it's incredibly important in our community. So thanks to you and your team for all the work that you do.
They do all the heavy lifting. I just come up here and do what they do.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, moving on, we will move to Section 2, Consent Agenda, A, 1 through 4, and B, 1 through 17. Any friendly amendments and/or segregations? Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I'd like to segregate number 14, Communication 2026-94.
That's item number 14, Communication number 2026-94. Any other friendly amendments and/or segregations? Seeing none, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Section 2, the consent agenda, A, the committee reports 1 through 4, B, communications 1 through 17, with the exclusion of number 14, 2026-94.
We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? Commissioner Walker. Okay, there we go. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving to item number 14, communication number 2026-94. Lisa Carey, Emergency Management Director, requesting Council of Commissioners permission to apply for the Montana Resiliency Fund grant for emergency generator on a trailer, and the Big Butte Fuels Reduction Project. The grant would require a 25% match. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Ms. Carey, the reason that I wanted to segregate this is I wanted to make it, worth it for you to stay here for all of these meetings. But hopefully, I think we can clear this up. So your communication stated that there was a 25% match, and it did state that it was like in-kind services. It gave an option of what it could be, but it didn't pinpoint exactly what that would be. So if you could explain to me what you're planning on, where you're planning on getting that 25% match.
Commissioner Morgan, Ms. Carey, please.
Thank you. Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Morgan. These are projects that we've been, especially during the wind, we had that widespread power outages. And so for these generators, it's something that would really greatly help our community. And right now, without a grant, we'd be trying to find 100% of the funding. And if we got these grants, then we're only looking for 25% of the funding for things that we know we need. And so I do not have established where we could get it, but those were, the items that I listed are ways that we could match it in kind or whatever. It's due in March, and we'll find out in April if we were to get it. The opportunity is very competitive right now because a lot of the federal resiliency grants, the mitigation grants, they're on pause. Everything's stopped. And so this is actually a state of Montana grant where the legislature had set up this Montana Resiliency Fund, and it grandfathered or sunsetted or something, and they had money left and they needed to use it, so they decided to take the remaining funds in this program and set it up for grants, and so everyone's going for them. And generators aren't really high on their list of priorities, but they are eligible projects. And then the other project is the Big Buttes Fuels Reduction Project. And I haven't talked to Director Frederickson lately to find out if he's found the funding for that, but it's 3 things that we need, and all 3 would qualify for this. And so I thought that it would be better to apply and try to get it and make our problem a little bit less. Instead of finding 100% of funding, find 25% of funding.
Follow-up, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, Ms. Carey. So that's kind of my issue with these, that I always flag these, because I've been on the other end where people put in for these grants, even though they are 25%, and then they come back to this body and be like, figure out where the funding is at, and we're like, you know, where are we going to find this at? So I guess the bigger question that I would have for you is, I mean, can this body rest assured that if you do receive the grant, you either have ways in your budget that you would be able to cover these, or through an in-kind service? That's the biggest question.
Commissioner Morgan, Ms. Carey.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Morgan. Through my budget, through the Disasters and Emergency Services, no, I would not have the funding. But I have spoken to Director Neary and Superintendent Keenan, and they agree that, you know, we should go for the grants and try to find the funding within their budgets. And if we were awarded the grant, if we did get the option, you know, I guess we wouldn't need to take it also if they couldn't find the money. But between now and then, if we were fortunate enough to be awarded these grants, they feel that they could probably find the funding within their budgets.
Thank you. And I'll lead into this just a little bit. I know that one of the challenges that we have is when we talk about the Big Butte, that's a pretty high priority, because we light the fireworks off up on there, and it's in a state that we're really worried about that. So I have been talking with Parks and Rec Director Frederickson about that, along with Mr. Neary, and so we're probably looking at within their budgets, that we are trying to build some of that into it, but it doesn't give that, okay, right now, where is that money? We don't have that right now, but it's at the discretion of this body if it was to do that. But we can always turn back grants if we figure out we don't have the money to be able to fund it.
Sure.
Okay, follow up, Commissioner Morgan.
So kind of along those lines, I mean, at that point, if it comes back to the council, that's bad juju there, because that means you couldn't find the funding, and so then this body is tasked with it. But Director Neary, are you confident that you would be able to find the money in your budget at some point if it came to be? I mean, that's the biggest thing that I want to make sure that.
Commissioner Morgan, Director Neary.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioner Morgan. To be honest, the grant kind of snuck up when we applied, when the grant came out that we could apply for it. Lisa was looking into it. The biggest problem with the windstorm is it knocked the power out at the Beef Trail site. So no fuel. So that's what really kind of got the ball rolling on it. So when Lisa was talking about this grant, we all thought it was a great idea, and then we saw the 25% match. I believe we could find the funding, and on the fuel reduction, in kind, we could do a lot of work there to where we could, our man hours, all the grant funding that we had at all the fire mitigation at Basin Creek, we did all that in labor, the whole match for that whole project up there. So we felt that we could, between the 3, find the funds to make the 25% match. But I'm not guaranteeing it.
Thanks, Director Neary.
I think that's what you're looking for, it'd be better if it came here with the match.
Yes.
Is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And right now I can't say that, especially with the Finance and Budget Director sitting in the back. Staring right through me.
Director Neary, and I think that it goes to the departments and stuff, but I think it would be something that as we're building our budgets, we can be working to say, hey, if we're awarded this, we need to allocate for it, but we know that some of that can be in-kind labor, and we just need to know how much of that can be, because labor we can really account for. We know we can account for that. How much of it is allowed in the grant, that would be the question. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I like the chairman's referral to the Finance and Budget Committee, so we can discuss it with the budget director and with the department heads. So I would appreciate those conversations. Most of the grants, you can't even submit them until you have a match identified. And the deadline's not until March 10th, right? I think is what I see. So I think we have a little bit of time to mull it over in the committee before we, I guess, allow you to even submit an application, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a great idea too, for the record.
Commissioner, okay, thanks, Commissioner Shea. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Director Carey, did you say March 10th or did you say March 6th? Did you the 6th? So that does give us a little less time.
That's why I put the request in now. Because
Yeah.
I figured I better get it in.
So really the question is, Chairman Morgan, are you a betting man?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I mean, the last thing that I want to do is stall a grant process for this community. You know, I'm sure some of the commissioners on here are wondering what the heck we're even doing here, but I'm telling you from the past, when we're being asked to find the funding, it is not a good spot for us to be in. You know, and I get where you're at. The answer that I was hoping for was, yes, we have the funding, and yes, we know how we're going to do it. And I'm not getting a good feeling on that, even though I know you guys are capable of finding the money. Even, I mean, the finance and budget director, she's not even fidgeting back there, which is a good sign that we could probably find it. So I do understand that, you know, if looking at the calendar, if we were to hold this and have it go to committee, you wouldn't have a final say on it until March 4th, you know, as a true up or down vote. And so that'd only give you 2 days to either scramble to put the budget together or the proposal together to get it in. And I'm not, that to me is not, you know, what we're here to do. We're not here to throw that kind of a wrench into it. The 25% match, you guys have looked at it, you have a sense of what you could use it with. The only thing that I would ask you is that for future reference, if you can come back to this body with, here is where it's coming from before, I would personally appreciate that. So, but with that being said, I mean, I feel confident in your guys' answer that you have the funding, you have the support of the chief executive, so I would make a motion to concur with communication 2026-94.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file communication. Is that correct? Now I lost the number. 2026-94. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to, I knocked myself out of order here. Yep, I know. Section 3, communications to be read and acted upon. We have 2 of those today. First one is communication number 2026-79. J.P. Gallagher, Chief Executive, requesting Council Commissioners concurrence for the appointment of Scott Turner as the Director of Information Technologies for Butte-Silver Bow. I have Mr. Turner here, and I'd like him to come up, but this is, as you know, Craig Germain was our IT Director for about a year, and he stepped aside. We allowed him to travel from Helena until he could get residence here, and then he was not able, or I think family decided that wasn't what they wanted to do. And so we did an extensive search for a new IT director. We had a lot of fantastic applicants, and Scott rose to the rose to the top of the candidates that we had. And so I'd like to introduce Scott and then ask for your concurrence of his appointment. So are we all right to do the concurrence first? So Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I would just make a motion that we concur with Communication 2026-79 and place on file.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yeas, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay. Motion passes. Welcome to Butte-Silver, Mr. Turner. And I'd just like to give you the mic and just kind of tell it a little bit about yourself here.
Sure. Chief Executive Gallagher and members of the commission, thank you for welcoming me to Butte-Silver. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve. Look forward to supporting the mission of the organization and the residents we serve. I'm a 27-year IT veteran, Navy veteran as well. I've done everything from working from Intel. My last place was Yuba County in Northern California. And I'm excited to be here. I love you. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. You always have to know your audience, right? And so the only thing that I would say is this body cannot direct staff, but it would be nice to get some microphones on the table that we've had previously ordered and purchased at one point. I'm just saying. Thank you.
Taking an opportune time.
That's right.
Thank you. And then our next communication, I want to thank for the patience right here of Lindsay Babcock. But communication number 2026-81, JP Gallagher, Chief Executive, requesting Council of Commissioners approval to write a letter of support for the Bureau of Land Management, BLM Butte Field Office in regard to the opportunity to acquire 65-acre private in holding adjacent to the Big Hole River near Maiden Rock. So Ms. Babcock.
Good
Welcome.
evening, Chief Executive. Thank you, and Council of Commissioners. My name is Lindsay Babcock. I'm the local field manager here for the Bureau of Land Management. And just wanted to let you all know about an opportunity we have that we're not going to move forward on without your support. BLM was approached by the National Wild Sheep Foundation regarding 65 acres for sale just adjacent to the Big Hole River across from Maiden Rock. If you're familiar with the Goat Rock small mountain, there's these 65 acres are surrounded by about 300 acres of BLM. We have existing land and water conservation funding available to secure the purchase. Little history on land and water conservation funds. They do not come from local taxes. They're revenue from federal offshore oil and gas revenue that are set aside. They've been set aside since the 60s for conservation purposes. So this particular parcel is important to the Sheep Foundation because there is year-round bighorn sheep use of the parcel.
Thank you. Are there any questions of commissioners? Commissioner O'Leary and then Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, and appreciate you bringing this to us. It's an interesting project. I know a lot of people in this community use that area, and floating and fishing, it's great access. So it seems like a good project. Just wondering if you can give us a little history on why this is coming up now, and is there who the landowner is possibly, and why they've decided to move forward with this at this point.
I don't know the, oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're Commissioner O'Leary, Ms. Babcock.
Thank you. I don't know the landowner personally. Her name's Dawn Marie Therault. I know she is interested in selling the parcel for conservation purposes and has been in communication with FWP, different conservation organizations that channeled them to the Sheep Foundation. And so before BLM takes any next steps, we wanted to come to you to make sure that the county was supportive.
Thank you, Ms. Babcock. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. That, I think, answered my question. I was just trying to figure out why this body, what was the approach for that? But you want our buy-in to say, it's worth us, or worth exploring before you go down the path. Is that correct?
Yeah. Commissioner Morgan, Ms. Babcock.
Thank you. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and I think County Attorney and Ruth was wanting to weigh in on this.
As a lifetime Wild Sheep Foundation member, the answer to this is yes. Very, very simply, yes, please.
Yeah. I think it's beneficial for our recreational users. It preserves an area that I see as a positive for, and in that it's in Silver Bow County. I think it's a positive for us to take that step. And so I would appreciate the opportunity to write a support level. Okay. So, Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. With that being said, I would make a motion that we concur with Communication 2026-81 and place on file.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file communication number 2026-81. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay. Motion passes. Ms. Babcock, thank you for your patience. It was a long night prior to you coming up here, so thank you very much for being here. Moving on to Section 4, Resolutions Ordinance introduced to Judiciary. There are 8 of them, so please note them. And moving on to Section 5, Resolutions and Ordinances for final reading. We will start with the resolution that was added to tonight's agenda, and that is Resolution number 2026-06. Clerk, do you have that caption, or do you need me to read it? You want me to read it? Okay, I'll read it. Okay. Resolution number 2026-06 is a resolution from Mike Clegg, Deputy County Attorney, to amend the fiscal year 2026-27 budget to receive funds from the State of Montana Office of Court Administration for the participants in the Butte-Silver Bow Veterans Treatment Court and the Butte-Silver Bow DUI Court. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Before we make that motion to move that one, I have to do a suspension of the rules to allow for emergency. So at this time, I move for the suspension of the rules for the purpose of passing Council Resolution 2026-06 by waiving subsection 7 of Rule 36 of the Rules and Order of the Council of Commissioners, thereby having it considered for advanced passage without reference to the Judiciary Committee.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for resolution number 2026-06. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay. Our voices are going. Moving back, and I just read that caption for everyone, and so moving on to resolution number 2025-06. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place Council Resolution 2026-06 on final reading and pass, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second to place resolution number 2026-06 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 1, resolution number 2026-04. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution authorizing and approving the transfer of the real property described as Tract R1-R2 and Tract R3 of the Rail Park Minor Subdivision located in Section 24, Township 3 North, Range 9 West, Principal Meridian within the City County of Butte-Silver Bow, Montana to Silver Bow Rail Park RE2 LLC in accordance with the provisions of the Butte-Silver Bow Municipal Code and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place Council Resolution 2026-04 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2026-04 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving to item number 2, resolution number 2026-03. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution terminating the local emergency proclamation regarding the loss of SNAP benefits in the Butte-Silver County, Montana.
Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to place Council Resolution 2026-03 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2026-03 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 0 nay.
10 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to calendar and other meeting events, please note the dates and times of those. And then I would move on to any public comment on any item not on tonight's agenda. Seeing none, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all for a full meeting.